的八个启示 8 revelations obtained from the Wuhan pandemic. Xiefeng, February 9th, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. All Things and Phenomena are books without words. Reading from them is communicating directly with the greatest creator. The Wuhan coronavirus is such a phenomenon. So what revelations can we gain from it? Unexpected things can happen at any time. So do not be arrogant when you are at a high point in life, nor discouraged at a low point, because when you wake up, you will find that everything spins in the opposite direction. The most important thing in life is to act now, when it is calm, not later, because we may not have the chance to fulfill our wishes in the future. No matter how talented you are, you might be helpless. When you are helpless, the money, power, status, and material wealth you have will not help you, nor will even your friends, relatives, and well-connected associates. You can only rely on the greatest creator and yourself. Regardless of whether the virus is arranged by gods, spread from animals, or artificially created, things happen with inevitability and everything is inevitable. This is a truth that we discovered when we explored the mysteries of the universe, that since everything is inevitable, our life and death have already been planned out. If we have enough merits, then Tao would have long since arranged for us to be in a safe zone. If we lack having enough of them, then we cannot hide from our misfortunes. No matter how we try to avoid them, we cannot prevent them. Understanding this, we can face the developments and changes of things calmly and with neither panic nor fear. To die right now is not necessarily a bad thing, and to continue living is not necessarily a good thing. Isolation has been a good way to prevent plagues since ancient times, but lockdowns of roads, villages, and cities is definitely not a good strategy. Lockdowns will cause suffocation and coldness. We should let love go to every corner and spread warmth everywhere. When we shut people out from affected areas, despair will not only envelope others, but it will also make the world colder. The world is still cold, and people are still very selfish. This can be seen from the evacuation of Chinese people from overseas countries, disallowing people from entering countries, and closures of roads, villages, communities, and cities where people have become so cold and selfish that they cannot feel even a trace of warmth. Therefore, each of us should think about how to let the light of love shine everywhere and let love warm everyone's hearts. Otherwise, people will never reach the pinnacle of civilization. At critical moments, people will find that it is not those who we want and expect to help us who will, but those who are strangers. We therefore realize that within our lifetime, we should treat everyone we meet equally and respect everyone who we have the fortune to meet because we do not know who can and will really help us when we need them to. Good fortune lies within bad. Bad fortune lurks within good. The darker the hour, the nearer the dawn. So everyone should hold to their beliefs, faiths, and consciences. I have asked more than 100 Chanyuan celestials what they would do if one of them was infected with the virus. Fortunately, 70% of the young ones answered without hesitation that they would neither betray nor shun them, but that they would take care of the infected member and give the hope of life to their brother or sister even at the risk of death to themselves. What do you think of our Chanyuan spirit? 从习性判断未来趋势 Judging future trends from habits. Xiefeng, January 16, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. One who was injured at a specific spot on their body is more likely to be injured on that same spot in the future. Those who fail at one thing are more likely to fail in many more things in the future. Those who lie once will lie again in the future. Those who kill once are apt to kill again in the future. Those who divorce once are likely to divorce again. Miscarrying increases the chances of it happening a second and third time in the future. Those who steal successfully once will do it again in the future. Those who have an affair will take advantage of opportunities to repeat them with others in the future. Those who accept a bribe once will continue to accept more bribes. Those who have given up on an opportunity once are apt to give up future opportunities that present themselves. Those who betray you once will betray you many times. First-time casino gamblers will return in the future. Those who are hurt by something once will be haunted by its fear and remain afraid of it forever. Those who discard their promise once will do so again and again. Those who are arrogant in expression, behavior, or language will remain so. Those who are careless about one thing will be so about many other things. A first-time deceiver will deceive many times again. Once in a cell, a person is more likely to enter another cell. Those who have doubted one thing will doubt many other things. Those who have been struck by lightning once will likely be stricken again. Those who have been fooled once are more likely to be fooled again in the future. If you swallow your anger once and a similar thing happens, you will do it again. Being unreasonable once will lead to being unreasonable many more times. If you break a precept once, then you will do it many more times. If you fail the first time, then failing the second, third, and all future times will become progressively easier. People who and things that make you uncomfortable the first time will never set you at ease in the future. Those who cannot do small things well will do more important things just as poorly. Those who are not hygienic will be sloppy in other aspects of life and cannot be quick. Those who do not finish what they start will procrastinate on everything. Those who made you sad once will repeat it again and again. Those who lack enthusiasm and passion will never develop them in the future. Those who let you down once will do so every time. Those who have schemed will continue to do so in the future. Those who are very attached to things are bound to stumble over them. Those who get fight germs poorly will become more easily infected with the passage of time. Those who believe they are right will never admit to being wrong. Those who find falsity, evil, and ugliness easily will never survive in a world of truth, goodness, and beauty. Habits make things become natural. When they become natural to you, they become your characteristics, which will be difficult to change. Therefore, a person's future developmental trends can be judged from their habits. 性自由是初级自由，也是终极自由. Sexual freedom is primary freedom and ultimate freedom. Xiefeng. November 19, 2019. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. Give me liberty or give me death. Liberty. Love? For my love, I would sacrifice life. These two I need. For liberty, I will sacrifice my love. Life's ultimate goal is its pursuit of freedom. Why are people afraid of hell? Because it has no freedom. Why do people yearn for heaven? Because it has total freedom. What one longs for in jail is freedom. It is more precious than money, power, status, reputation, mansions, luxury cars, delicacies from land and sea, or top-brand clothing. Why do people not want to be slaves? Because slaves have no freedom. Why do they want to become celestials and Buddhas? Because those entities have more freedom. Can people ever get enough freedom? No. Only lives higher than ours can be fully free. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that all human beings are born free and everyone has the right to liberty. So what is freedom? Freedom means that one's will is fully exerted and displayed. We are members of societies, no more influential than drops of water in the oceans. It is impossible to fully exert and display one's own will because the freedom of one person can easily conflict with that of another, so everyone must be restrained. Theoretically, the role and value of contracts, regulations, laws, constitutions, and so forth are to protect everyone's freedoms to the maximum, so everyone must act within their scope. Beyond this scope, freedom would lead to chaos and war, so then absolute freedom would lead to absolute restraint. Freedom is a high-level life state. People cannot have total freedom. For example, they cannot have the freedom to burn, kill, rob, deceive and swindle, humiliate, attack, slander or frame others, defecate in public places, hurt others, and so on. Individuals cannot have complete freedom. They can only pursue freedoms that have little potential for conflict with others, society, and nature, such as those of migration, imagination, thought, their pursuit of life in heaven, freedom from death, of labor and creation, and sexual freedom. Among all the freedoms, the first freedom that people should pursue is sexual freedom because without it, all the other freedoms are illusory and unreal, not ultimate, short-lived, and ineffective solutions. Sexual freedom is both primal and ultimate. In other words, sexual freedom is the core of all freedoms and the others are marginal. To pursue freedom, the first one to pursue is always sexual. What is sexual freedom? When it comes to sex, we should not narrowly restrict it to male and female sexual intercourse. Master Bodhidharma clearly pointed out in his Bloodstream sermon that nature, same word as sex in Chinese, is Buddha. When someone has sexual freedom, they are Buddha. Therefore, the meaning of sexual freedom is to be able to exist and live fully according to the Creator's intention. According to Chan Yuan values, it means having the ability to exist and live according to the way of nature. For example, to see with one's eyes is a freedom of human nature. Eyes are for seeing, so if their function to do that were forbidden, that would be restricting and depriving one's freedom of nature. If one is prohibited from singing when they want to, they would lose some of their freedom of nature. Another example is that everyone has reproductive organs with purposes. They are not only used for excretion and procreation, but also for enjoying sexual pleasure. Restricting one's enjoyment of sexual pleasure is restricting their nature. If one fully enjoys sexual pleasure, it can be said that they have gained sexual freedom. There will always be those who, whenever sexual freedom is mentioned, will immediately think of sexual openness, carnalism, debauchery, lewdness, promiscuity, pimps, sluts, adulterers, fornication, and the like. These are purely assumptions and imaginings of the savage and foolish, or the expected understandings of men with brutish natures. Sexual freedom is the artistic blooming and enjoyment of the nature of the civilized, not the delicacy of scrambling barbarians. Some people attribute AIDS and other STDs, family breakdowns, and similar consequences to sexual freedom, but this is the same as attributing diseases to food, which makes no sense. If you compare sexual freedom to flying, you cannot deny or travel because planes have crashed. It can be said that other freedoms can only exist after sexual freedom has been obtained. Without sexual freedom, those others are empty talk. One's degree of life quality is closely related to their level of freedom. The higher their quality of life, the greater their freedom. When we look at nature, we find that animals are freer than plants. We are freer than animals. Celestials and Buddha are freer than us, and gods are freer than celestials and Buddha. To pursue freedom, we must first pursue sexual freedom. However, if one does not perfect their soul garden and does not possess the qualities of sincerity, kindness, beauty, love, faith, and honesty, then they absolutely cannot enjoy sexual freedom. In short, people cannot enjoy sexual freedom fully. This is determined by the quality of our species. If anyone can truly enjoy sexual freedom, congratulations, you are no longer a human being. You have elevated yourself to the status of a celestial or beyond. 知音哪里找? Where to find a bosom friend? Xiefeng. March 2nd, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Bandy. Where can one find a bosom friend? It's so hard to find a bosom friend in life. One true bosom friend is enough for a lifetime. It is easier to make a lot of money and be rich, but very difficult to find a bosom friend. One may have many friends but has no bosom friend. A bosom friend is very rare, like a gem. You cannot ask nor work to get it. There was no traveler on the ancient road till I met you in the cold mountains. The smile for seeing you is still on my face. We are saying farewell and weeping in a twinkle. Late at night in the candle light with your company is like dreaming. A bosom friend far away brings a distant land near. Without any word, my heart is drunk. No need for wine. Feel my heart. You will know how deep my memories are. In a watery region, I have nothing to give you as a memorial, so I will give you a plum blossom. In memory of Zhong Ziki, Boya won't play any music again. These are visions of a bosom friend. Where can we find a bosom friend? We cannot find a bosom friend in the official, business place, casino, or battlefields. No bosom friend can be found among family, friendship, friends, classmates, or colleagues. No bosom friend can be found in political parties, religious organizations, family, relatives, various groups. We cannot find a bosom friend in contracts, agreements, courts, markets, or bars. In a word, wherever interests are entangled, no bosom friend can be found. Where is my bosom friend? Bosom friend is in your life channel, in your soul, in your spirit, and in your happily playing with your friends. Bosom friend is like a flower. You can only appreciate it. You never pluck it. Bosom friend is like water. You follow its flow and should not set standards for it. A bosom friend is elegant, free, and unrestrained. We should never have the desire to possess them. Bosom friend is like honey, sweet and mellow. It can only be sweet in the soul, in the spirit, and shouldn't be contaminated with a trace of dust. Absolutely beautiful things can only be enjoyed by absolutely beautiful lives. If we do not reach an absolutely beautiful state, it will never be possible for us to enjoy the nourishment of a bosom friend. We cannot beg for a bosom friend. We cannot buy a bosom friend. We cannot keep them by relationship, and we cannot kidnap them in the name of love. A bosom friend features an abundance of affection, but we should not attach to affection. Since times immemorial, affectionate people always suffer the most emotionally. Once you don't see each other for many days, you start to realize the place where you have spared from or maybe drunken stupor. The riverside is strewn with willow trees. The morning breeze wafts in with a waning moon. All day long, I expect you, but somehow, you are not back. Flower petals drifting, water flowing. I haven't seen you for so long. The Xiang River looks boundless, cut, severed and sorted. Messier still, this is the parting woe. Bosom friends are rare in the world. Only abound in Chanyuan. Clambered up the snowy peak and looked over the rivers. The mountain flowers are blooming. 连点赞都不给你好吝啬. You are stingy without giving likes. Xiefeng. February 19th, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Bandy. There are more than 200 contacts on my WeChat. Every time when I forward or post an article, very few people like the article. People who always like the articles are only 30. The other 170 people never likes. The Bible says in the Gospel of Matthew 11:16 and 17. But what comparison may I make of this generation? It is like children seated in the marketplaces, crying out to one another and saying, "We made music for you, and you did not take part in the dance. We gave cries of sorrow, and you made no signs of grief." I am the incarnation of Jesus, and I will describe this passage of Jesus in a plain and simple way again. How should I describe you? I sang for you, you didn't clap your hands. I offered you a spiritual feast, and you didn't make any response. Is it so difficult to give a like? Giving a like won't make you pregnant or turn you into a pig. Since you are in contact with me, it proves that it is predestined. There is friendship between us. Since you have not deleted me, it proves that you are still willing to keep in touch with me. Why not give me a like from time to time? Even if you give me a like once in a week or once after 10 of my articles, at least I can know that you are still alive through the likes. Do you know why you are not willing to give me a like? The answer is stingy. You lack spiritual and soul wealth, indifferent, or you are no longer in this world. If you don't want to dedicate as much as lifting a finger, do you think you can have a bright future? Giving likes does not necessarily mean that you agree with the value and contents of the articles your friends forwarded. It is just an expression of, I care about you. Our beautiful future is accumulated by giving and dedication. If you are too stingy to give likes to friends, can you imagine how far you have fallen? Think about it carefully. When one day you are in trouble and no one come to help you, and when you reincarnate in the plant or animal world and unable to speak, don't blame the greatest creator for being unfair. That's because you are too stingy to give a like to friend, not to mention to offer other help. 微信群里大都是强奸犯. People mostly are rapists in the WeChat groups. Xiefeng. March 8th, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Bandy. What's the day today on Earth? So many WeChat groups. The epidemic howling again. The crowds are frantic with dreadful and painful memories. Daily routine should be the same. Only that the mind has changed already. How idle are you? Drifting in the WeChat groups all day. I have been in many WeChat groups, but I quit from them one by one. Why? Because I was raped by WeChat group friends. For example, when I joined a new WeChat group, I firstly said greetings and blessings to all friends here. As a result, very few people responded. In a group of nearly 500 people, almost no one paid attention to me. I was confused. Are they all dead here? There is no echo in this empty valley, just like a tomb will not respond back to me. Anyhow, I will stay and see what are people doing here. As a result, I was bombarded indiscriminately. The WeChat group is fishier than the seafood market. What is in the seafood market is at least something from the water, but the WeChat group is like a rubbish shopping mall with everything in it, which is dazzling and dizzying. There are Big God, Main Buddha, bricklaying specialist, same pronunciation as expertise in Chinese, superior. Teachings of every religion and system of philosophy, Taoist magic. Those are from heaven, underground, water, mountains, history, current, philosophy, technology, even from the gutter. Everything you can imagine, especially those superiors, they are very clever, cleverer than Mr. Clever, than the village named Very Clever. They are all masters, level figures, big shit, same pronunciation as Big Master in Chinese, whom I do not dare to provoke, and I cannot afford to. I observed it carefully for a long time, and finally discovered the mystery. The WeChat group is a place for people who have nothing to do but to show their existence. They all talk to themselves, feel good about themselves, arrogant, self-conscious, making aimless judgment, incapable of doing great things, but don't want to do small things, having strong feelings of I am the number one in the world. If I can't do it, who can? Very bored but want to be blockbusters and all-powerful big shots. Why did I say that I was raped? Because whether I like it or not, people throw the fragmented things that they think are good toward my retina. And at this moment, they want me to go with the Buddha. Another moment, they want me to follow Jesus. For a while, they ask me to follow the party. Another while, they ask me to follow Tao. I was confused and lost. Don't know where to go. What's more, lots of small pictures were piled up before me, whether I like it or not. Isn't this rape? In the WeChat group, what I fear most is not the above, but the teachings of high morals. Using the most beautiful words, they taught me how to be a human being, how to improve my spirituality, how to become a Buddha, how to live forever, how to win the universe. They even taught me how to walk, whether I should take my left foot first or the right foot first. Your grandpa. You have said all good things. I guess you have also done all bad things. What do you call this? This is called moral kidnapping, belief kidnapping, positive energy kidnapping. Looking back on my past, I found that I am not a good person myself. I have also done this before. No wonder some people call me preach, someone call me a shrew, and some suspect that the purpose of my hype on the internet to promote life genuine is to cheat money and sex. Thinking about it, it seems really this case. I saw countless people are following in my footsteps. I am not good person, and you probably aren't good person either. Is there any good stuff in the WeChat group? The answer is yes, there is, but very rare. It is harder to find good thing here than to find diamonds in the forest. A WeChat group must be a place for the exchange of ideas and emotions. If a WeChat group is not for communication, but to show off, to spread and peddle your garbage ideas and garbage works, and to transfer things that you don't understand from one group to another, to copy a large number of small pictures, then the WeChat group is a tragedy. If you don't believe me, check yourself. People who always talk about gods and deities are in the WeChat group. People who are brainless are checking WeChat group all day long. All people who have nothing to do are muddling along in WeChat group. All people who goof around and want to make troubles are in WeChat group. People who love quarrels are in WeChat group. Crooks are in WeChat group. People who want to be a blockbuster are in WeChat group. And people who want to pick up treasure in garbage dump are also in WeChat group. I have said so many bad things about WeChat group. In fact, WeChat groups have a powerful function, that is, its high speed of information dissemination, especially when disseminating of scandals. If you are not careful enough, you might be drowned by the spit of WeChat groups. WeChat group is also a monster revealing mirror. Gods, Buddhas, angels, bodhisattva and demons, ghosts, spirits, all are performing and will all in the end show their original forms in WeChat groups. And their followers will also go to their ways. The cattle enter their bull pen. The pigs enter their pig pen, and the mice dig their holes. WeChat group, I am afraid of you. You occupy a lot of my precious time. You deprive me of the right to be filial to the elderly, to take care of the children and to delve into learning. You have transformed me into a walking corpse with indigestion, and you have made a lot of strange animals like parrots who can only copy others' words. You also have made me a lonely depression patient in a very busy place. I must run away from you quickly. Hiding in my building. Who cares what season it is? I am going to have fun. 疫情形势下慢聊人生. Life in the crisis of the pandemic. Xiefeng. February 8, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. Under the outbreak of a large-scale pandemic, doctors, nurses, and morticians have the most difficult and dangerous jobs. They are like running back and forth on a death line every day. A moment of inattention, and one might become infected and taken away by the king of hell. It has been found that the three occupations listed above are high-risk ones. From now on, we will have deep respect for workers in these three fields. We find that in extreme situations, freelancers who can change their living situations at any time according to their needs are the safest, while civil servants, soldiers, police, employees of state-owned enterprises, medical workers, and the like, who are the nuts and bolts of the state machine, do not enjoy the right to choose freely where they will work. They can only bite the bullet, whether they like it or not. It turns out that freelancing is often the best way to live our lives. The virus broke out and many people fell. Yesterday, they might have been planning for their futures with ambition. Today, everything suddenly collapsed. They themselves even disappeared. No one knows what will happen tomorrow. In this case, we should live every day well. Any behavior or motivation that deliberately weighs the pros and cons are worthless in the face of future changes. What do people rely on for a lifetime? Their state? Their political party? Their religion? Their family? Their friends and relatives? No, none are reliable. The only things that one can trust in are the greatest creator and themselves. Where is the safest place? A city? A rural area? At home? Abroad? Nowhere is safe. The safest place is in the quality, merits, and blessings of your own life. Mankind's fate is destined, but the fates of those who revere the greatest creator and walk the way of the greatest creator can be changed. The fate of human society is also doomed. Read Lou Bowen's inscription of Rescue of Catastrophe, then relate it to the status quo of today's pandemic. We know that everything is predestined. However, if one walks along the roadmap of life genuine, today's catastrophes can be avoided, even reversed. 10 years ago, I warned repeatedly of the crises that mankind will face and created the modern Noah's Ark for mankind, the new oasis for life, formerly the second home. But not many people listened to me, let alone followed me. Not only did the government not listen to me, but they even attempted to destroy my Noah's Ark. Not only did people not support it, but they ridiculed, satired, mocked, attacked, and verbally abused it. Now, as people face various crises helplessly and are worrying with fear on the verge of death, I want to ask them, why do you not act according to the will of the greatest creator? Why do you not listen to the teachings of gods, Buddhas, and celestials? Do you think that you can escape punishment and death by power, money, or academic status? Laugh not so early and be not complacent about your relative safety today. More violent events will strike you later. Heaven exists, so why not go there? You seem to prefer your fast track to hell? If you do not believe in heaven's existence, the new oasis for life production and life mode created by Life Genuine is right under your noses. It is alive, so why not believe in it? Even if you do not believe the facts in front of you, what else do you believe? Everyone ages, so what is the best way to do it healthily? When a husband and wife are aging together, no one can take care of them. Is this not sad? Even if you can go to a quality nursing home, even if you have children to take care of you, and even if you enjoy elderly benefits like the ones that are offered in Canada, even the world's best old age care methods cannot be compared to those of the new Oasis for Life. They are substantially different. Their benefits cannot be described in tens of thousand words. Why do you not praise them and yearn for them? Today is the Lantern Festival, where the flower market is as bright as daytime. Where is the scene of thousands of doors opened, lanterns lit, the capital boiling in the Lantern Festival of January, countless palace ladies dancing sleeve dances, and the music of singing and dancing straight to the sky? Is it now the whole people? It is the Lantern Festival in my hometown now. I am sitting in a remote, lonely village. Can you still hear firecrackers exploding? Can you still see children laughing and playing games? Can you still smile and laugh for the joyful scenes of girls searching for their favorite people under the lanterns and of, when the moon hung behind the willows, the young people went on dates under it? But in the crowd once and again, I look for her in vain, when all at once I turn my head and find her where lantern light is dimly shed? Where are the good old days? Who ruined our good times? Will next year's Lantern Festival reappear with its past grandeur? Even if it does, can you guarantee that you will be there? People think that the most visionary people are in the United Nations and in the courts, but reality tells us that behind the red lacquered gates, Wine is left to sour and meat to rot. And those who really care about the suffering of the people might be civil workers doing their jobs in society. 不要把自己看成一碟菜. Do not regard yourself as a dish. Xiefeng, April 5, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. Gaze up at the starry sky. The universe would still be brilliant with one star missing. Look at the river flowing. It would still surge forward with one stream missing. Recall history. The earth would still rotate if a sage were missing. Consider yourself. The world would still be happy without you. Be humble, low-key, ordinary, common, and do not regard yourself as a dish. Looking back at every landscape that I experienced on my journey through life, I found that many people descended sadly because they took themselves as a dish. Zhang Guitao, one of the founders of the Communist Party of China, was once the vice chairman of the central government of the Chinese Soviet Republic. He was the leader of the Red Fourth Army and commanded 100,000 soldiers. What a powerful pillar of talent and command. He finally froze to death in a shabby nursing home in a suburb of Toronto, Canada. Why? Because he took himself as a dish. When the Central Red Army led by Mao Zedong and the Fourth Red Army under his leadership joined forces, Mao had only slightly more than 10,000 soldiers left while Zhang had more than 100,000 elite soldiers. Zhang felt that he should be the boss, and he began looking down upon Mao. So their strife, both covert and overt, began. Zhang finally left the party central committee, left the collective, and his ending was very sad. Genius is born and Mao was placed here by the greatest creator. Though Mao was sometimes impoverished, his courage, bearing, and foresight could not be compared to the elites of his age. When Mao's comrades took themselves as dishes, their tragedies became inevitable. Life-Chanuan has been through 17 springs and autumns, and many members who regarded themselves as dishes have left it along the way. Originally more than 2,000 Chanuan celestials, now less than 200 or 300 remain. The remainder are all honest people who feel that they are not dishes, but it is precisely these remaining 200 or 300 Chanuan celestials who have witnessed the history of the development of Life-Chanuan, and they have enjoyed the stunning scenery of their journeys through life and life. In 1994, I drove a dilapidated, open-top Jeep through the jungle alone in the Binga region of northern Matabeleland province, Zimbabwe. As I entered a small town, a large group of people gathered around a drunken native and yelled at him. As I arrived, he rushed over to me and shouted, "This is my boss. This is my boss." As he pointed his index finger toward me, I felt that my dignity had been violated, so I replied loudly and sternly, "I am not your boss. I am not your boss. Stop." The drunken guy meant to flatter me, but he was criticized by me, so he walked away a little grimacingly. The booing people laughed at him, but on the other hand, they seemed to be calling me an unworthy creature. I later became annoyed and regretted it. My attitude had been so ugly. I could have befriended the guy, danced with him, and made everyone happy, but at that time, I thought that I was awesome and I felt like I was a dish and became humiliated later as a result. This incident left me with an indelible memory, still vivid after a quarter century. I became wiser after that incident and learned much from it. My biggest lessons were to never regard myself as a dish and to never look down on a seemingly ordinary person. Even if you encounter a beggar, treat them with courtesy and definitely never consider yourself superior. I had not yet learned Laozi's Tao Te Ching at that time. Had I learned it, it would have been all glare tempered, all dust smoothed, and I would never have made such a low-level mistake. Never look down on an ordinary person. Never leave the collective, the masses, or the main group, and never regard yourself as a dish. When you think that you are superior and are not willing to associate with honest, simple, and ordinary people, no matter how freaking awesome you are actually nothing more than flatulence in the breeze. 你被相所迷了. Are you puzzled by form? Xiefeng, August 6, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. Buddha said that everything with form is unreal. All that is void of form is Buddha. Buddha also said not to abide our minds in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma, but to actually abide nowhere. The article, "The Xiefeng pirate ship has set sail," frightened a Buddhist student. Reading the expressions beauty kidnappers and love affair makers seemed as a change of color. Reading seducing and flirting scared the wits out of the student. Who is the one professed love of what one actually fears? Puzzled by names and forms without seeing their essence. Puzzled by dharma without seeing the law. A bowl of bird's nest porridge, whether it is called horse urine or dog shit soup, is still nutritious bird's nest porridge. Whether you call celestials vulgar or elegant, they are still celestials. Tao that can be described is not absolute Tao. Names that can be given are not absolute names. Buddha has no absolute dharma, but Buddha's dharma always varies according to the situation. When the highest type of followers hears Tao, the truth, they try hard to live in accordance with it. When mediocre types hear Tao, they seem to be aware and yet unaware of it. When the lowest types hear Tao, they break into loud laughter. If it is not laughed at, it is not Tao. When they do not command faith, some will lose faith in them. Those who lack faith in Xiefeng will find many other things with which to lack faith. Mere humans are always obstructed by their own ideas. Sophisticates are always fascinated by names and forms, alas. The vulgar are knowing and luminous. I alone am confused and dull. The vulgar are clever and self-assured. I alone am depressed. 生命禅院导游写风是个屁. Xiefeng is a fart. Xiefeng. June 29, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. A thing's value is judged according to its usefulness. If no one needs it, it is as a fart. For some people, certain things are supreme treasures, but for others, they are as good as farts. I gave a pig a bowl of pearls. Not only did it fail to thank me, but it also indicated that what I gave it was worse than a fart. I gave a lamb a bowl of braised pork. Not only did it not show any gratitude, but it also accused me of disrespect. I gave a donkey a piece of gold. Not only was it not impressed, but it even kicked me. As I passed a grand ancestral worship ceremony in a village one day, many people were prostrating themselves and kowtowing. I asked a standing man who was watching at the ceremony why he failed to join them. He said that it was for their ancestors, but to me it was just a fart. Or one day I asked a young man in Africa if he knew who the first president of the United States was. He said that he only knew the presidents of his country and that the presidents of other countries meant shit to him. No matter how precious things are, how great and important people are, in the eyes of people who do not need them, they are all farts. From this, I came to a conclusion. Life-genuine Xiefeng is a fart. This leads to another phenomenon, that farts are to be found everywhere. 不要活在当下，要活在未来. Live in the future, rather than in the present. Xiefeng. August 29, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. The present is painful. Food, clothing, shelter, birth, old age, sickness, death, reciprocity, resentment, and hatred are all current troubles and pains. 9 out of 10 times, life is not as good as one wishes it were. Every family has their problems, and each individual has troubles. Troubles are not easily escaped. As we live in the complications of the human world, we have to adapt ourselves to changing circumstances. Every day, people either struggle on the line of death or spend their days worrying. Living in the present is like living in a sea of bitterness. Rooted in the present, our consciousnesses should live in the future because the future is the gathering place of our dreams, ideals, and fantasies. We can imagine the beauty of our future to our heart's content even if the reality is bitter and tired, even if it is terrible. As long as we let our consciousnesses live in an ideal state of the future, we can be optimistic, romantic, treat sad situations as temporary dreams, grit our teeth, and survive. Think about the beautiful futures that we plan. Think about the picturesque and free places in which we will live. Even if the sky falls, it is of no matter. Our past consciousnesses create our present realities. Similarly, our present ones can create better futures. According to the principle of visualized thinking, our futures are mainly created by our imaginations, so we can create our own ideal futures. In this case, why should we live in the present? Would it not be more comfortable to live in a future scenario that we can imagine? The only things that are impossible are those that cannot be imagined. If we live in the future, then we can imagine a better life to our heart's content. This is not Aku's way of winning spiritually. It is a way to get rid of difficulties and move towards a better future. We should find ways to make ourselves happy. I was born to a very ordinary peasant family, but my consciousness often lives in the future where thinking about it makes me happy. Many things that I imagined in the past have become my reality today, so I learned the technique of living in the future. I can rest assured that my future will be as thrilling and beautiful as I want it to be. When I live on the island of Balikia on the Celestial Islands continent ahead of time, all of my confusion and worries will be gone, as will my anxieties, concerns, and fears. How stupid it is to live in the present. Live in the future. As long as you live in your imagination of a better future, you will find that the present is a dream. Try to see how it works. 意识与疾病的关系探讨 The relationship between consciousness and disease. Xiefeng, September 15, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. If someone get ill, something must be wrong with their consciousness. Let us compare Bangladesh with Switzerland. Bangladesh is characterized as being dirty, disorderly, and poor. Switzerland is characterized as being clean, orderly, and wealthy. There is a great difference between the two countries in terms of environmental sanitation, where the mountains, rivers, earth, streets, and lanes in Bangladesh originally filthy and those in Switzerland pristine? Of course not. The problem lies in the collective consciousness of the local people. The Bengalis have never cared about their environmental sanitation, so their environment is filthy, but the Swiss have always paid close attention to theirs, so it is pristine. We will find the same facts and reasons when we go to your neighborhood, and we will find that some families are neat and clean with few mosquitoes and flies, while others are filthy and have many of them. If you want to know the reason, the problem lies in the family's consciousnesses, which has little to do with material wealth, occupations, or even education. From this, we must infer that human bodies are environments, and if they are unclean and unmaintained, then they will have diseases. Does the problem come from other people in society? There is no doubt that there is a problem with the consciousness that is in charge of the environment of the body, and it can only be concluded that if someone is sick, then something has to be wrong with their consciousness. The story of mistaking the shadow of a bough in one's cup for a snake is known throughout China. Du Xian accepted a drink from a county magistrate. After he returned home, he felt abnormal with unbearable pain in his abdomen, and he could hardly eat or drink. Later, after he realized that the snake he thought he had seen in his cup was only the shadow of a bough hanging on the wall, that there had never been any snake in his cup, his illness cleared up immediately. Is this not a typical consciousness problem? It shows that human diseases are all too often caused by the consciousness. Someone felt just a little bit uncomfortable, but they went to a hospital to be examined and were informed that they were suffering from late-stage cancer. After returning home, they fell ill. Their symptoms were like those of cancer. They became desperate, and everyone in their family began preparing for their hospitalization. They went to the hospital again to get more test results and found out that it was only a cold. As for the late stage of cancer, that was just a mistake from reading someone else's chart. After hearing the news, the patient, who was lying in bed and could hardly walk, suddenly jumped up and went home laughing. There have been many such cases. What do they show? They show that many human diseases are made by our consciousnesses. When people are angry and outraged, their hands will tremble, their lips will turn purple, and they will even shiver uncontrollably. Their hands and lips are normal in the beginning. So why would there be trembling and purple coloration? Because their consciousness is angry and outraged. If there is no anger or rage in their consciousness, then their hands will not tremble and their lips will not turn purple. This proves that the physical causes of diseases come from people's consciousnesses. We can continue to infer logically the reasons that consciousnesses lead to diseases, but we have read enough. Conscious illnesses can lead to physical ones. If the above logical reasoning fails, then just observe the people who get ill often. If you observe them carefully, you will see that there are many problems in their consciousnesses. They often share personality traits such as passivity, negativity, pessimism, persistence, jealousy, judgmentality, being nosy, a tendency to gossip, worry, fanciful thinking, selfishness, greed, desires to dominate, quarrelsomeness, individualism, wanting to punish others, easiness to anger, hate, depression, difficulties sublimating themselves, having heart knots but with reluctance to speak out honestly, and so on. At the same time, let us observe those who are healthy and rarely get sick. What are their characteristics? Are they not open-minded, optimistic, romantic, selfless, giving, praising, laughing, and so forth? Listen to this. Some people feign illnesses to escape labor, to avoid a person or environment, to punish others by abusing themselves, or just to obtain the pity and sympathy of others. Children feign illnesses to avoid going to school, and the same holds true for adults. The severity of the problem is that people who pretend to be ill often are sick in their minds to the point where over time, their bodies actually become ill. Another phenomenon of people falling ill is giving unhealthy information to their subconscious minds, such as speaking from their hearts. I really want to lie in bed and have some fucking rest. After you give your subconscious this instruction, it will mobilize all factors to give you some rest, such as an injury, a fracture, the stomach swelling, headaches, accidents, cuts from knives, and so forth. In other words, their subconsciousness will not lie idle, but will help realize that desire to lie in bed. One of the Life-Genuine values is living in the new oasis for life. One is not allowed to fall ill. Why have you fallen ill? Should you not reflect on it? It has been explained so clearly in the roadmap, but have you followed it? For example, have you thought of the prayers for Chanyuan celestials who live in the home and prayed every day? I have asked you to frequently participate in flirting. Have you done so? Have you done so to eradicate the poisonous weeds in your soul garden, to be more selfless, and so on? I am sorry that not only do I fail to comfort the sick, but even sprinkle salt on their wounds, but as a guide, my being a truth teller is a fact that cannot be ignored. Of course, some people's diseases are congenital and come from their births. They are in their genetic sequence which they can do nothing about because every congenital disease carrier bears the consequences of their last life, so they can only bite their bullets and bear them. To tell you the truth, every life in heaven is free from diseases. To say goodbye to diseases forever, you should do more good deeds, accumulate more merits, and walk strictly in accordance with the roadmap given to you by your spiritual guide. 所有抱怨都没道理. No complaints make sense. Xiefeng, September 23, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. All complainers are confused in their brains. Those who complain do not understand the truth. A girl entered a food store and asked the shopkeeper for a bag of rat poison. I'm sorry, replied the manager, but this is a food store and we don't sell rat poison. The girl complained, why do you not sell rat poison? You made my trip for nothing. There was a rabbit who had been looking throughout a cornfield all day to find some carrots to eat without finding any, so it complained, humans do not care about us. Why do they not grow carrots in their cornfields? There was a worker who, seeing his boss driving their Mercedes-Benz to work every day, complained, the world is unfair. Why should he drive to work in his Benz while I have to take crowded buses every day? A wife complained to her husband, your former classmates have all become directors of divisions and directors general, while you are not even a section chief. I am ashamed of you. Her husband complained back, others' wives are so sensible. Only you criticize me every day. A social media netizen who entered a special flirting group hung around for a long time and then complained, there is no preaching and talking of scriptures or Tao here. Neither are there cooking skills or healthcare experiences. How can you all be so boring? A man came to a dictator's paradise and complained, there is no democratic atmosphere here. Why should he always have the final say in everything and disregard the public's opinions? It is grossly unfair. One came to the prairie and complained, I like climbing mountains, but there are no mountains here, which disappoints me a lot. After careful analysis, it is found that the head of any complainer must have been kicked by a donkey, their brain has short-circuited, or their mom must have mistaken a contraceptive for a cold medicine. I once complained until I finally found out that I might have entered the wrong room, taken my wife's sister as my wife, taken snakes as dragons, or become sworn brothers with pigs. Have you ever complained? What do you do when someone keeps on complaining around you? My experience is to pay them no attention because they are unreasonable and enjoy making trouble out of nothing. The more you care about it, the more trouble you will have. We can only lend deaf ears to them. Of course, you can laugh in your heart, laugh at this person who must have gotten up on the wrong side of their bed or their neurological synapses have opened, so that this kind of complaining will not hurt you, make you unpleasant, or anger you to explode. 做人不要追求公正公平. As people, we should not pursue justice and fairness. Zufeng, October 9th, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Care. As a person, it is a mistake to pursue justice and fairness in life. I have lived in China, Africa, Oceania with Aboriginal people, and now in North America. During the 20 years of building Life at Genuine, I finally found that life itself is very just and fair and that no one is wronged. Therefore, it is known that Tao is most just and fair, that the fairness and justice pursued by people are unnecessary, and that it is not only redundant, but also creates inequality and trouble. He lives in a villa, driving a luxury car while I live in a thatched house without even a bike. This is unfair, someone said. I said, what you see is unfair, but people are suffering from cancer and diabetes. Is it also unfair that you have neither? If someone has cancer, would it be fairer if you shared it? Others were imprisoned and their properties were confiscated. Would it not be fairer if you were also locked away? Is it not unfair that people have been living in heaven, but you have to live in this world? Since you seek fairness, why do you not keep your faith unchanged, make constant contributions, and stick to truth, goodness, beauty, love, faith, honesty, and peace even while suffering, enduring hardships, and in distress like others? It might be unfair for the Tang monk to become a Buddha but for you to not. But then why did you hide in your comfort zone and not go through adventures as the Tang monk went through his hardships? I wanted to create a new oasis for life in the island country of Vanuatu, but I found that although the indigenous people lead simple lives, not only were they lazy, but they were also greedy. They did not want to pay, but just wanted to get, and they were short-sighted. Finally, I gave up the idea of building a new oasis for life there. I lived in Africa for more than 10 years. Not only is Africa beautiful, but it is also rich. So why is it still poor and backward? This is a human problem. People are too greedy and keen on petty theft. If all they want is to get something for nothing, then how can they not remain poor and backward? I have lived in China for most of my life. Primitive African tribes still maintain their simplicity, but that of the Chinese people has all but disappeared. Everyone has become very shrewd. Not only the city people, but even those in the remotest villages have become very shrewd. Moreover, most Chinese are generally not grateful. Not only do they not pay their debts of gratitude, but they also think about how to take their benefactors' things as their own, such as how they treat the United States. How much welfare has the United States brought to China? Not to mention the Tsinghua University and Peking Union Medical College Hospital, which were built with American aid. The United States trained several million scientific, technological, and entrepreneurial management talents for China. Now, everyone uses mobile phones that are patented in the United States, let alone electric lights, HD TVs, supermarkets, and much, much more. Have we been grateful for this? Not only have we been ungrateful, but we have also scolded the United States to death. Everyone studies mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology, but from where have we gotten the knowledge of these disciplines? All are from the West. On one hand, we enjoy the welfare of others, but on the other one, we scold them. Is it smart, ignorant, or ungrateful? In addition, if we look at social media groups, we find that almost everyone is a judge and a master. We draw conclusions and judge people with no deep understanding of them. We regard ourselves masters and try to guide others after we have learned very little spiritual understanding. People accuse the government of being autocratic, but the reality is that everyone is really that way. Even beggars want to dictate and rule over other beggars. Are Chinese parents not autocratic dictators over their children? Between married couples, do both not try to rule and dictate over each other? So, the status of the indigenous people of Africa and China shows nothing about unjustness or unfairness. From the creation of Life at Genuine to the new oasis for life, I have found that China is suffering from severe disasters, but what about the inequities created by everyone? Each generation must eat the bitter fruit left from the previous one, and no one can escape that. What about the life mode of the new oasis for life? Who can say that it is not good? The government wants to destroy it, but to where would they wish to take our people? Can you sit down and argue with Xiefeng? China has 90 million Communist Party members, each of whom swore to fight for the realization of communism throughout their lifetimes. But have they praised the emergence of the communist seedling on the Chinese earth? Have they encouraged it, or are they the ones who professed love of what they actually feared? Are the common people pursuing better lives? What kind of good life are you pursuing? Is it better than those within the new oasis for life of Life-Genuine? People, cheating yourself is enough. Do not try to cheat and anesthetize others. We are all Chinese. We know each other. This is it. After living in North America for several years, I feel that it offers the best life for me, though I have no love for capitalism, nor do I recognize that the American and Canadian lifestyle is the most ideal one for mankind, but Westerners enjoy more than any others in any other part of the world. It is not unjust or unfair, but determined by people's quality. People talk about the decline of the United States, the rise of the East, and the 21st century being the one for China, but it seems so absurd to me. I have nothing to say to those people who are mentally masturbating so absurdly. What are unrealistic dreams? The ones that people are having now come pretty close. Everything happening on Earth is fair and just. The status quo of each country is, and everyone's present situation is. The ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, has never wronged any nationality, any country, or any person. Therefore, people should not pursue justice and fairness because no one can create either one. 让自己的认知大厦全然坍塌. Let your cognitive building collapse completely. Xiefeng, October 12, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. If you believe that your cognitive abilities are the most profound in the world, then stick to them. Tell everyone what you know all at once, and shine a light on all who are groping through the darkness. If we find someone whose cognitive abilities surpass ours, then let us collapse our building projects, abandon all the theories that we believe to be correct, and let us serve that one. The process of serving others is that of self-accomplishment and of realizing our own ideals. Religious complexes and worshiping will inject strong energy and vitality into oneself. When I worship the ancestor of Buddha, the greatest creator, Jesus, Shakyamuni, Laozi, and Guanyin Bodhisattva, I gain a new self. Since then, my life has entered a new channel. It can be said that I have been reborn. Were it not for my worshiping from inner piety, then my life path would still be dark gray. Have you ever cried with joy or experienced a state of extreme calm when you were so excited that you forgot yourself completely and you were willing to surrender yourself completely to the object of your worship? If your answer is yes, then congratulations, because you have experienced worshiping. Is there any person throughout history whom you admire? If not, then congratulations, for you are the greatest person who has ever lived. If you are not that person but have no object of worship, then sadly, you are either a poor spirit who knows not the immensity of the universe, or at least a confused individual with an unclear mind. I am neither the greatest person in the world nor the one with the most profound cognitive ability, but along my way, I have not met anyone other than Jesus, Sakyamuni, Muhammad, Pbup, and Laozi. Guanyin Bodhisattva is not a human, whom I am willing to worship. This is my sorrow, my ignorance, and it is sad not to be able to see skies beyond skies and mountains beyond mountains. The happiest people in the world are those who have dedicated their lives to the objects of worship. I am one of the happiest people because I have entrusted my life to the greatest creator and my life to Tao. Now, I have nothing else to do. The rest is to find fun and play. Play whatever is playful. There is little to do except play. It has been said that we are living in the Dharma-ending age, and that a saint named Ziwei will come to save us. This Ziwei saint is both the returning Christ and the next life of Maitreya, and I am looking forward eagerly to the advent of this saint. It would be a blessing to meet this holy soul once during my lifetime, and I must have burned incense in a previous life. However, this saint must meet 3 conditions upon arriving. The saint must have a systematic theory to provide us with a theoretical standard to follow no matter what we do. Otherwise, even if he or she walks on water, flies through the clouds, and demonstrates 64 supernatural powers. Sorry, they are not the saint. The saint must have nothing. No money, neither on their person nor in bank accounts, and no material possessions except for clothing. Once they possess anything material, then I am sorry to say that they are not the saint. The saint must have set an example for people, whether it is by a personal quality model or by their leading people to create a convincing and replicable mode. They must have at least accomplished some ideal cause. Otherwise, even if they can preach scriptures, integrate all theories, and have hundreds of millions of disciples, then they are not the saint. It is nothing more than a dream to depend on talking to realize a world of the great harmony of the unification of all thoughts and all beliefs into the greatest Creator's will, and all religions into one uniform belief system in which the talented are entrusted with important missions that the whole world can be united as a single family. Give us an example. If the above three conditions cannot be met, then it is honestly suggested that the Z-Way saint should stay in the sky. Otherwise, if he or she and others were to come down, then they would not even be able to pass my tests. I have many schoolmates from my middle school, technical school, college, and university, but I cannot see any of them as having extraordinary ideas and realms because they are all merely drifting along. It is okay for them to do this, but most of them believe that they are knowledgeable with much cognitive ability and are so quick to deny others' opinions, just as the pig who saw monkeys darting up and down a tree and sneered, those poor monkeys do not even have a fixed nest. You see how happy and comfortable we pigs are. We have nests and people to feed us every day. In the past few years, I have met a lot of very knowledgeable people through social media groups on the web. At first, they gave me good impressions, but after communicating with many of them for a while, I found that most just feel good about themselves and consider themselves to be masters. Every day, in addition to selling their insights, they are busy within their web groups, rarely settling down to read the classics or about the apocalypse, but seldom do they do any practical work. Those so-called insights are not the result of their own life perceptions, but are just some borrowed wisdom from others with some small ornaments of their own that they have added in. Even so, those insights were not worth refuting at all because most of them have indicated elusive thinking. Many people are lovely, amiable, and respectable, but are not on the right track. I look at them and think, if you collapse all your cognition structure, it would be great. Heaven is not without roads and gates. The problem is that you insist that you are right, so you cannot see them or even the way to them. I would like to share this couplet, which was composed by Luoyin Celestial of Life-Echanuan. While hearts abide nowhere, then everywhere is in wonderland. If love attaches to no one, then any time is ethereal. Ethereal wonderland. 从情检测自己的生命层次. Testing one's life level according to their love. Xiefeng. November 11th, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. Every level of life has its own corresponding level of love which is different from all others. We can all examine our own loves to determine whether they are terrestrial or celestial. If your love troubles you and makes you miserable, then it is terrestrial. If it pleases you, then it is celestial. If your love only includes one partner throughout your life, then it is terrestrial. The more lovers you include, the more you demonstrate celestial love. If the object of your love is fixed, then it is terrestrial. If you follow your destiny and nature, then it is celestial. If you are jealous because your lover has feelings for others, then your love is terrestrial. If you are happy that your lover loves many, then it is celestial. If you find love to be divisive and that the more lovers your lover has, the less they will have for you, then yours is terrestrial. If you know that your love is in line with cosmic holography, then no matter how many partners you love, every one of them will be complete and your love is celestial. If you want to control, guide, train, and make your lover behave according to your standards, then your love is terrestrial. If you give your lover full freedom, then it is celestial. If you want to be inseparable from, pester, and always be with the object of your love, then your love is terrestrial. If you have embedded the object of your love into your consciousness, then no matter whether you are far away from each other or you live together, they will still taste very sweet and your love is celestial. If you cannot be completely magnanimous about love, and you are hiding something, then your love is terrestrial. If you bear yourself open to love nakedly, then yours is celestial. Analyzing and determining the pattern and state of one's love, can help them to understand the level of their life. If your love is terrestrial, then you must remain a human forever. If your love is celestial, then you are no longer a human being, but a celestial being, and you can go to the fairyland after your life's journey ends. 只有雪峰式共产主义才能解决这些问题. Only Xiefeng-style communism can solve these problems. Xiefeng, November 19, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Peter. Elderly care, singleness, marriage breakdown, official corruption, environmental pollution, children's education and protection, poisonous food, drug abuse, whoring, gambling, fraud, theft, robbery, the integrity crisis, corruption, bribery, domineering, etc. cannot be solved by relying on historical experience and current people's cognitive level, nor can it be solved by religious teachings such as Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, etc. It cannot be solved by the ideas of Mao Zedong, by the theories of Lao Tzu and Confucius, not to mention by learning from the West about the separation of three powers system. They can only be solved by Xiefeng-style communism. Here I will first tell you the fact that moral education is not as good as system construction, and a good system is better than any form of moral preaching. Elderly care is a major issue in China and the world. In the past, the issue of providing for the elderly was dependent on children. Now many Western countries rely on the welfare system formulated by the state. Whether it is relying on children or the welfare system, it is not the best way to provide for the aged. Nursing homes of all kinds are a very sad way of providing for the elderly. Caring for the elderly, allowing the elderly to live among the young and children, and to enjoy a comfortable life in their later years, is the best way to support the elderly. In this regard, Life Chanuan's second home has fully proved through 11 years of practice that the Xiefeng-style communist life is the best way to provide for the elderly. There are more and more single and divorced people, so how to solve their sex life problems? Let it go? Control it rigorously? Restrict by regulations? No matter what method is used, if the problem of sex life is not solved, there will inevitably be endless social problems. This problem can only be solved perfectly by the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, and it will hardly go wrong, including sexually transmitted diseases issues. There are more and more bachelors. Parents have no idea what to do. Neither can the bachelors themselves do anything about it. Should these people be left single for the rest of their lives? How can society solve this problem? There is no choice. The most satisfactory solution to this problem is to enter the Xiefeng-style communist society. The problem of official corruption has not been solved for thousands of years. There are more and more people who ride on the heads of the common people and accept the government's pay. They bully and oppress them while eating their food. This chronic social disease can only be eradicated by the Xiefeng-style communist life mode. It is because there are no officials in the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, and everyone is a laborer. People no longer need managers. Officials disappear, and the problem of official corruption caused by these officials also disappears. The issue of children's upbringing and education has become a collective matter, not a parent's matter anymore. Since children live in a collective, there is no possibility of abducting and selling children, and the phenomenon of children being spoiled, indulged, and misguided cannot happen. The Xiefeng-style communist life has proved through 11 years of practice with the children that the education and protection of the children can be described as flawless. In the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, stealing will become extinct because you have no place to store the things you steal, you cannot use them, and it is not necessary for you to steal other people's things at all. In the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, absolutely no one will produce poisonous food. The reason is very simple: the food you grow and produce will also be eaten by yourself. As for drug abuse, prostitution, whoring, fighting, bullying honest people, etc., there is almost no such phenomenon in the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, because you have no conditions and opportunities to do these things. Once you do it, you will have no place to stand in this civilized group, so you dare not. The integrity crisis is related to interests. When there is no conflict of interest between people, the integrity crisis will disappear. In the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, there is no direct interest relationship between people, and it is impossible to form cronies or special relationships. Everyone behaves in strict accordance with the 800 values for new era human being. so there is no integrity crisis. Of course, it is not so absolute, especially when it comes to affectional issues between men and women. There will also be some integrity crises. This is because the Xiefeng-style communism system is not fully operational. For example, due to the small number of homes, it is impossible to change personnel in time. As time goes by, there will be some emotional disputes between people, but once the home mode is fully operational, there is absolutely no possibility of an affectional integrity crisis, because the two persons that are together today may go to different homes tomorrow, and there will be little chance for them to see each other again for the rest of their lives. So, people will not work hard on the feelings between men and women, but only on their own qualities. It can be said that many unhealthy phenomena that have appeared in human society for thousands of years will be greatly reduced or even eliminated in the Xiefeng-style communist life mode. Then, why is it so difficult to popularize such an ideal human life model and difficult for people to accept? The government does not allow it because the government is mainly composed of officials, and officials want to enjoy special treatment. In the Xiefeng-style communist life mode, no one can enjoy special treatment, so of course government officials will not accept it, but will suppress Xiefeng-style communism. The rich do not allow it, because what the rich are most afraid of is communism. The rich want to be above the rest. However, in Xiefeng-style communism, everyone is equal and there is no way to be above others. Therefore, they suppress Xiefeng-style communism. The common people don't want it. Though common people live a difficult and ordinary life, there is a hidden psychology in every common people's consciousness that they want to live better than others. In Xiefeng-style communism, the ideal of wanting to live better than others cannot be realized, so they would rather suffer than live in a Xiefeng-style communist society. Although the development and existence of the Xiefeng-style communism life mode is extremely challenging, it represents the future development of human beings. Sooner or later, people will live in the Xiefeng-style communism life mode, especially in China. China has special national conditions. Chinese history and culture tell us that capitalism does not work in China. In history, all rich people face a huge crisis of survival. When you become rich, either robbers come to rob you and kidnap you, or the revolutionary movement will fix you. What's harsher is that when the government's finances are in trouble, the rich become the targets of harvest. Therefore, taking the European and American capitalist road will not work in China. As for the socialist road, practice has proved to be a failure because the common people have not enjoyed a happy, joyous, free, and blessed life because of socialism. In short, the best life for mankind in the future will be in the Xiefeng-style communism life mode, especially for the Chinese nation. Anyone, even if you are well educated, even if you have extraordinary intelligence and great ability, even if you are the second coming of Jesus Christ or Maitreyan Buddha or Ziwei Saint, you will not be able to create something more perfect than the Xiefeng-style communism life mode for human beings. 新冠病毒是魔鬼还是天使? Is COVID-19 a devil or an angel? Xiefeng, February 16, 2022. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Peter. A man of superior virtue does not show his virtue. A man of superior mercy demonstrates no mercy. Since the outbreak of the new corona epidemic, according to information on the internet, it is said that many animals have accelerated their reproduction. For example, there are more small turtles hatching on the beach. It is also said that the sky is clearer than before. For example, the snowy mountains, which have been blocked by smog for decades, now reappear to the Indians and so on. According to online information, no child in one state in the United States has died from infection from the novel coronavirus. The death rate of children infected with novel coronavirus in the United States is much lower than that of the elderly. Again, according to online information, in the sixth wave of the epidemic in Japan, about 90% of the deaths were elderly people over 70 years old. Online information tells us that the novel coronavirus seems to be mainly aimed at the elderly because most of the dead are the elderly, but it is relatively kind to children and young people. What is the novel coronavirus going to do? Is it a devil or an angel? From the perspective of purifying the earth, it sees that there is too much garbage on the earth and the pollution is too serious, so it wants to purify the earth. Many animals are about to become extinct, so it hurried out to protect the nearly extinct animals, because if all animals die out, humans cannot live either. From this point of view, the novel coronavirus seems to be a bit like an angel. From the perspective of population death, does it feel that there are too many people on the Earth, and the Earth's resources cannot support so many people? Many countries say that they are under immense pressure because the elderly population is increasing, so the novel coronavirus wants to take the elderly to heaven earlier, to leave more living space for young people and children. If this is the case, the novel coronavirus seems to be a bit like an angel. But this is a bit unfair to the elderly. For the elderly, it is simply the devil. If the novel coronavirus is an angel, then places with severe epidemics like the United States will benefit greatly. The more severe the epidemic, the greater the benefit. From this point of view, is the severity of the epidemic in the United States caused by their tacitly letting the epidemic spread? If the novel coronavirus is a devil, then places like China that are cleared for epidemic prevention will benefit the most, and the milder the epidemic, the greater the benefit. From this point of view, is the epidemic in China relatively mild compared to the United States because the Chinese know that it is the best policy to resolutely eliminate the virus? If the novel coronavirus is an angel who came with the mission of purifying the earth, then it will not stop there, but will continue with one wave after another. If the old coronavirus does not work, the new coronavirus cannot finish the task and the senior coronavirus will come into play. Anyway, it cannot go to heaven to explain this if it doesn't fulfill its mission. If the novel coronavirus is a devil and it just came out to cause trouble for mankind, then it will be locked in a cage under the full siege of mankind, and it will soon disappear without a trace. If the novel coronavirus is an angel, the more human beings guard against it, the more wrong they will be. The novel coronavirus is probably thinking, "My goodness, I'm here to help mankind, but stupid and ignorant human beings are beating and kicking me, condemning me both in speech and writing. They really take good intentions for evil." If the novel coronavirus is a devil, human beings must take strict precautions, and the stricter the precautions, the better. The novel coronavirus might be thinking, "My goodness, clever and cunning humans are too difficult to deal with. I'd better retreat, otherwise humans will break my legs." At this time, we cannot see the true face of the novel coronavirus, and we can only leave it to history to make a conclusion. 寄予未来中国领导人 A Messages for Future Chinese Leaders. Xiefeng, November 1st, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Peter. If you can make people live and work in peace and contentment, and make people live joyously, happily, freely, and blessedly, you are the savior of the world, and you are the Ziwei saint. If you do not let the common people live and work in peace and contentment, and don't let people live joyously, happily, freely, and blessedly, you are a bastard, a living devil. I will provide you with some ideas for reference. Follow America. West Germany followed the United States and became prosperous and strong, while East Germany went against the United States and became poor and desolate. South Korea followed the United States and became brilliant, while North Korea did the opposite and became closed and backward. Without theoretical analysis or logical reasoning, facts have proved that following the United States will be beneficial to the country and its people. In the era of confrontation with the United States, China was poor and backward. Due to China's reforms and opening up, China and the United States now have harmonious relations and China's economy has grown by leaps and bounds. Therefore, we must follow the United States. A strong entrepreneur, not a strong government. Allow thousands of entrepreneurs to be born and become stronger. Let the invisible hand of the market support or eliminate entrepreneurs. The government administration should not interfere with business. It is necessary to weaken or even abolish the governmental administrative agencies at and below the county level, and let entrepreneurs replace and exercise government functions there. And at the same time, liberalize the development of civil society organizations and allow civil society organizations and entrepreneurs to form a system of checks and balances. Make trade channels unobstructed and allow people to move around freely. Not obstruct the sea, business, internet, and borders, and fully open it all up. Let businessmen from all over the world come and go freely in China. Let academic groups and people from all over the world communicate and exchange information freely in China. And let Chinese people freely enter and leave the country to everywhere in the world to study, do business, establish enterprises, travel, and settle. It is not only necessary to recognize dual nationality, even triple or 100 nationalities, and allow for Chinese citizens to have multiple nationalities. The government should not participate in economic activities. There is infinite wisdom, vitality, and creativity among the people. They know how to survive and how to improve their lives. Entrepreneurs are more far-sighted than government officials. Dissolve all state-owned enterprises and leave banking, power, communications, transportation, etc. all to entrepreneurs to operate. As long as economic activities are involved, the government should not participate. The government should only be in charge of 5 things: foreign affairs, national defense, combating crime, combating monopolies, and providing free education and medical care. Except for setting up a press release office, leave it to society to run all media and let them run various news and information dissemination media on behalf of their own interests. Allow them to say anything they want to, and allow journalists to exist in every corner of the country. The power of journalists should be stronger than that of the police, while the government does not need to pay for the journalists, which is a good deal. Establish the awareness that private property is sacred and inviolable. The state cannot deprive its citizens of private property, nor can any political party or religious group. Only by ensuring the safety of private property can the country prosper. The people will live a happy life in peace and contentment, and money from all over the world will flow into China. At the same time, it should be guaranteed that private residences will not be disturbed by anyone. With private residences, the rule should be, the wind can enter, the rain can enter, and the king cannot enter. Without a reliable clue to prove that the residents have violated the law, the police should not be allowed to enter. Allow various faith-based groups to operate freely, learn from the ecological diversity of nature, and let all kinds of faith groups spread their teachings and ideas freely. The government should not support any faith groups, nor should it crack down on them, but leave them to live and die on their own. Abandon such disputes as doctrine and truth. Only think about and talk about how to make the common people live and work in peace and contentment, and do not talk about and argue about the advantages of capitalism, socialism, and communism, let alone talking about fighting and dedicating to the truth. As long as the general public likes it, shitism is acceptable. Do not assist poor countries, do not help backward countries, but you can provide emergency relief when disasters or special situations occur. To provide living security for the brave. As long as people are disabled because of their bravery for righteousness, the state should provide them with a free lifetime pension, which should not be lower than the national average standard of living. If they sacrifice their lives for righteous causes, the government must not only arrange and take care of all their funeral affairs, but also take care of their parents for the rest of their lives and provide education and other guarantees for their children until they graduate from school. The government should not care about private matters between the sexes. The sexual life between members of the opposite sex is a personal matter, and it belongs to the freedom of life. As long as both parties are willing, the government should ignore it, make no comments, let alone kidnap and judge them with high standards of moral and quality. It doesn't matter whether it is one wife with many husbands, one husband with many wives, 3 or 4 people having sex together, or thousands or 10,000 people together, the chairman and the secretary, a master and an apprentice, husband with mistresses, having an affair every night. As long as the participants are willing, without hurting others, then let everything flow eastward. To future Chinese leaders, may you be the Ziwei saint who comes to the world, and may you understand the principle of holography. If you can manage China with the principle of holography, China will become the center of human civilization, and the whole world will praise your wisdom and greatness. 才不对位是社会资源的一种浪费. Mismatching talents and positions are wastes of social resources. Xiefeng, August 30th, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. What a waste it would be to shell mosquitoes with big guns, but it would also be a waste to specialize in growing flowers to cook, and it is even more wasteful for those who have the potential to win Nobel Prizes to be running companies. Letting people with hairdressing and cosmetological skills work on assembly lines in factories are also wastes, and letting thinkers become government officials is even more wasteful. Having cats catch mice and dogs guard homes are good arrangements, but letting mice guard homes or dogs catch mice are mismatched talents. Having Churchill as the Prime Minister and Montgomery as the Field Marshal were wise matches, but having Churchill be a Field Marshal and Montgomery a Prime Minister would have been mismatched talents. The function of eyes is to see, of ears is to hear, of feet is to walk, of hands is to manipulate things, and of brains is to think. If you made the brain look, listen, walk, or manipulate things, but stop thinking, then it would be misaligned. If a brain were not doing brain business, but did the businesses of the eyes, ears, feet, or hands, then it would not only be putting the proverbial cart before the horse, but it would also be a huge invisible waste of its special resource. Talents are types of invisible social wealth with huge potentials, while mismatched talents and positions are invisible and huge wastes of social resources. The people are infinitely rich in creativity. For example, the infinite vitality bursting out of Chinese society at the beginning of China's reform and opening up is the result of the mobilization of the infinite creativity of the people. If the talents are aligned properly, endless material wealth, spiritual wealth, and soul wealth will be created. There are two main reasons for their misalignment. The first one is government regulations. The more that the government controls, the more that people's talents misalign. For example, it is difficult for China to produce Nobel Prize winners. This is not because the Chinese are stupid people, but because its government controls and intervenes too much. How can great scientists and thinkers be born without their talents being aligned properly? How can century-old shops and a large number of craftsmen's talents be born? The second is running for survival. Regardless of one's talents, they choose whatever they can do to make money, and their choices can be few. Why has the Guide of Human Spirits and Souls written so few valuable articles during the past 2 years? Because my talents have been misaligned. Most of my time and energy during this time have been spent running around for survival. I have awakened each morning at 5 o'clock, washed, and prepared breakfast for my guests. It is already 10 o'clock in the morning by the time I clear up the cups, plates, and tables after my guests have finished eating. Then I make my own lunch, and after that, I visit the guest rooms to clean up the trash left by my guests and take out the sheets, coverlets, hand towels, bath towels, and other linen used by the guests, wash them, and relay them. Next, I clean the guest rooms meticulously. After finishing this, it is already around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. During this period, I must wait for new guests to arrive at any time, to arrange the rooms for them, and then make dinner. After dinner, I clean the tableware used by the guests and myself throughout the day. Then I begin to fold the cleaned bedding and bathroom supplies. Now it is past 8 o'clock at night, and I must go to bed by 10 o'clock, or the next day's failure to get up on time would delay my guests' breakfasts. My real free time is no more than 2 hours, because there are a series of other things to do, such as shopping more than 30 kilometers away, tidying the yard and mowing, repairing improper parts, and so on. Now I must ask this question. Which is more important, for the tour guide to do this every day to make money or to write valuable articles? As the tour guide, I understand in my heart that this is a sorrow for mankind and a huge loss to civilization, but even more so, it is an incalculable loss to Life Genuine and its celestials. A bit alarmist, is it not? History will tell you the answer. As the tour guide, I know in my heart that my talents are misaligned and that I am putting the cart before the horse, but since humans cannot be aware of this, then I will take things as they are and enjoy the happiness and tranquility of ordinary life. Where is mankind's escape? How do we eliminate the phenomenon of misaligned talents? The answer lies in the tour guide's brain. 跟头栽在了细节上. Stumbling on the details. Xiefeng. August 24, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Kair. On January 28, 1986, the American Challenger launched and exploded 73 seconds later, killing all 7 of its astronauts in the space shuttle. What was the problem? The O-ring seal of the solid rocket booster on the right side failed. Such a large and complex collection of super-advanced science and technology resulted in a disaster that could not be avoided just because of the failure of a small, inconspicuous sealing ring. We had stumbled over a detail. Sierra, a 24-year-old computer engineer and job seeker, stood out in a competition among several thousand competitors and was selected because of her excellent performance during her interview with the boss. But when she went back to the boss office to retrieve the silk gloves she had left on the cabinet by the door when she first walked in, the boss noticed what she was doing. The next day, when she had not received a call for employment, she became concerned and called to ask why. The general manager answered that We had already chosen you, but then we found that you were forgetful. We engage in the design of electronic circuits, and there must be no mistakes. She had stumbled over a detail. On August 21, 2021, a young couple checked into my small hotel. Judging by their appearance and temperament, they appear to be South American, and judging by their cars and clothes, they seem to be having economic difficulties. However, they could stay in the high-end hotel that I manage, which showed me that they had certain patterns and methods to their pursuits. Late in the afternoon, the lady brought a box of food to be heated in the microwave. When I asked why they had come here, she said they wanted jobs. At that time, a desire arose in me to keep the couple in my hotel, but the next day I cooked breakfast for them and they were supposed to be ready at 8 o'clock sharp because I had everything ready for them at that time. But I waited and waited, and they did not come downstairs for almost an hour, and it was then that I dispelled the idea of keeping them. Why? Because an unpunctual person is someone you cannot count on and someone who will screw up jobs. So how could I keep them? Punctuality is a kind of faith. A lack of the former proves a lack of the latter, and people who do not have faith are unreliable. Perhaps they never knew that the real reason why they had arrived at the gate of heaven but had not been able to enter was only that one detail. Again, they had stumbled over a detail. Details are not unintentional accidental phenomena. They embody the meaning of people's lives, and they are comprehensive manifestations of their upbringings, self-restraint, and self-cultivation. If the details go wrong, it must be that the person lacks having enough self-improvement and self-cultivation. When people face dilemmas, their problems must lie in the imperfection of certain details, but they may never know that it is their imperfection of one or a few details that has led to their dilemmas. 一张残酷的能量流向图 A cruel energy flow diagram. Xiefeng. June 7, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Care. The day before yesterday, in the afternoon, I knelt on a mat to weed, loosen the soil, and fertilize the roses in front of the guest rooms. Why was the whole process of working so joyful? Because the roses were growing vigorously. I feel joy when I look at flourishing roses, and because of my joy, I like to weed them, loosen their soil, fertilize them, and finally water them. The cruel reality is somewhat different, however. More attention and energy should have been given to the weak ones. The strong ones can strengthen themselves and do not need much effort or care. The weaker that one is, the less care and energy they will be given. The stronger that one is, the more care and energy they will be given. You see, the higher one's official rank is, the more supporters and flatterers they will have, and the more people who will be sending them gifts. The more successful a business is, the more money banks like to lend to them, and the easier it is for them to borrow money and raise funds. The more handsome a man is, the more capable he is, and the more that beautiful women will want to marry him. Some men have married dozens or even hundreds of wives, and all of them were beautiful, gentle, and capable, but many men cannot find a single wife and can only remain lonely bachelors. The drier a place is, the less likely it will be receiving rain, but the wetter a place is, the more rain that will fall. The better, the more prosperous, the worse, the bleaker. Is this the law of nature? I consider myself a saint, so why do I also prefer the lush Chinese rose flowers from the bottom of my heart? I will expose more of my thoughts here. The more beautiful and sexier one looks, the more I like them. Oh my God, is that what a saint is like? I used to be a permanent resident of Zimbabwe, so why did I leave? I went to Vanuatu and wanted to build a home there, so why did I not? I am a Chinese citizen, so why did I leave my birth country and settle down in Canada? It turns out that essentially, I like better living environments. I finally understood what Christ Jesus meant when he said, "For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance, but whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath." This is the energy flow diagram. After seeing and understanding this energy flow diagram, as people, we must strive to make ourselves excellent all round. The more excellent, the more energy one will get, and the more imperfect, the less energy they will get. It is useless to complain, to cry and shout, to blow up, or to have trouble with others. The only way that works is for you to make yourself excellent. This is the true meaning of God helps those who help themselves. 测试一下你是不是真男子? Are you a real man? Xiefeng. March 29, 2021. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. Having any of the following behaviors will reduce your manliness. Bullying those who are weaker than you. Bullying woman. Flattering those in power. Being jealous of people who are superior to you. Being oppressed outside, but then releasing your hostility at home. Being obedient outside but bossy at home. Having no courage to resist injustice. Intervening in internal struggles rather than to expand living spaces outside. Having any of the following behaviors will increase your manliness. Taking care of your own affairs without needing help. Making people around you happy, joyous, free, and blessed. Tolerating and caring for women, but never abusing them physically or emotionally. Believing that being sympathized and pitied by others is shameful. Taking action against and refuting evil when you should. Being as gentle as a sheep at home, but as capable as a tiger when outside. Never licking the asses of powerful people. Resolving malpractice issues which have always endangered societies. Making vigorous efforts to improve situations. Being chivalrous and unrestrained. 雪峰自恋看我像不像上帝使者. Xiefeng's narcissism. I must look and act as a messenger of the greatest creator. Xiefeng. April 19, 2021. Translated by Chinyu and edited by Care. The most important thing for people is to make themselves happy each and every day. When external influences are unable to make this happen, they must find ways to entertain, amuse, and love themselves. I, Xiefeng, am a person who can make myself happy every day. There are many ways to enjoy oneself. Let us see how I have made myself happy today. From the tax bills that I have paid to the government over the past 4 years, I have found that during that time, I have received more than 800 guests, 70% of whom have been from Europe, mostly Germany. 20% were from the United States. Canada, and Australia. 6% were from Japan, South Korea, and Hong Kong, and 4% were from various other countries. I checked on the booking website where 98% of the guests had given me full marks in their messages, rarely to other aspects of the hotel, but full marks to my personal service. Oh my God! I have satisfied 98% of my 800 guests, 90% of whom are strict and earnest white Westerners. My goodness! Am I really that special? At least I am an excellent server and waiter. Of course, there was one guest who only gave me 5 points, and my full score was only 10. So how did I fail him? I thought about it and finally concluded that he must have been scolded by his sister-in-law, and with nowhere else to vent his anger, he took it out on me. Or he might have dreamed that I abducted her, so he was angry with me. The above data is reliable because the booking website is external and is controlled by a Dutch agency, so there is no chance for me to do anything tricky, nor can I hire a shill to give me a high score because everyone who rates it must have booked a room through the website, has stayed in my hotel, and has paid a commission to the booking website. It is impossible to find anyone to rate and comment on the booking website at will. Yeah, the facts prove that I am a talent and I should be proud and happy. Do you all know how I let strangers pay me while complimenting me? For example, a young couple stayed in my hotel for one night and paid a room rate equivalent to more than 156 Canadian dollars and left a tip equivalent to 20 Canadian dollars. They also said on the website that I am a host worthy of $1 million. I hope that $1 million they mentioned are not Zimbabwean or Venezuelan currency, but at least Canadian currency. Here is how I did it. I combed my hair every day to be as smooth as if licked by a cow. My clothes were always clean and tidy. My gestures and expressions were always appropriate. I always smiled, never grinned evilly or giggled or laughed obsessively as if I were looking at my sister-in-law. If that were the case, my female guests would have called the police. Of course, one must learn to chat and joke with the guests as they eat. What can you joke about? Anything that can make them happy. Westerners like humor, so find something to make the guest happy. If you do this, they will be much more likely to rate you with high marks. See how easy it is to make strangers praise you. To make yourself and even strangers happy is the most meaningful thing in life. For the past 15 or 16 years, I have made hundreds of Chanyuan Celestials happy, or it can be said that I have coaxed them to be happy, and more than 170 Chanyuan celestials have written articles to praise me emotionally. Thinking about them while I am in my bed makes me feel like I am sleeping on clouds. I just cannot help it, and if I were unhappy, I would feel as if I were betraying Chairman Mao himself. I finally realized the truth. The so-called messenger of the greatest creator is someone who can make everyone in the world happy so that they will feel glorious even if they are wearing split pants and are eating pickled vegetables and coarse foods. They will feel that they are more delicious than any delicacies. I have coaxed thousands of people to be happy, and when everyone in the world is happy, if I do not say so myself, everyone will say, "This Xiefeng guy must truly be a messenger of the greatest creator." Imagining the future, how can I not be happy? I would always rather be happy. 修心就是想把砖块磨成镜. To cultivate one's mind is to polish a brick into a mirror. Xiefeng, March 24, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Peter. The cultivating world always advocates that people should cultivate the heart. At first, I felt that this term was too profound to be understood. It must be right. But the more I practiced it, the more I realized that I was fooled and got the feeling that this was like teaching people to polish bricks into mirrors. Where is the mind? Is it inside the chest cavity or outside? Is it in cosmic time and space or in bread and milk? Is it square or round? Is it in black and white or in color? Is it made of meat or mud? Buddha Shakyamuni warned, neither the past, the present, nor the future of the mind can be found, since the heart, the mind, does not exist. What should I cultivate? How should I cultivate it? House leaks can be repaired, clothes can be repaired, mobile phones can be repaired, roads can be repaired, but how do we fix the mind? Phenomenon gives birth to minds, but minds can transcend over phenomenon. The mind does not exist. Without the phenomena of the universe and without it, there would be no mind. 100 years ago, was there such a saying as, "Hi, he only has watching TV on his mind"? No, because before TV appeared, how could you have watching TV on your mind? Ask a 7 or 8-year-old child, "Is your wife in your heart?" How does the 7 or 8-year-old child answer? He does not have a wife at all, so how can he have his wife on his mind? Some people say, his mind is smaller than the eye of a needle. How is it possible to cultivate a mind that is smaller than the eye of a needle? Some people say his mind is bigger than the sky. How is it possible to cultivate a mind that is bigger than the sky? In Zen, there is a theory of changing your surroundings with the mind. This statement is reasonable. At least you can understand what it means. But if you advocate cultivating the mind, it is like a tiger that wants to eat the sky with nowhere to start. So, I understood that the so-called cultivating of the mind was a trap to fool a fool. 放弃做自己才是修炼的上乘之路. The best method of self-cultivation is to give up on being yourself. Xiefeng, March 24, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu, edited by Peter. The saint has no decided opinions and feelings, but regards the people's opinions and feelings as his own. The saint has no sense of self. He senses Tao and unites with Tao. The Tao is me, and I am the Tao. Christ Jesus taught us, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it." Buddha Shakyamuni taught us, if a bodhisattva thoroughly understands the dharma of no self, he is a true bodhisattva. Celestial Laozi taught us, is what we value and what we fear within ourselves. We have fears because we have a self. When we do not regard that self as a self, what have we to fear? Therefore, he who values the world as his self may then be entrusted with the government of the world. And if he who loves the world as his self, the world may then be entrusted to his care. Only by being unselfish can one fulfill one's wishes, and only by being selfless can one accomplish himself. So, give up on being yourself, do not be yourself. Only when you abandon yourself, you will be completely relaxed and free. Only by being selfless can you enter the kingdom of freedom. Self-improvement means improve yourself by abandoning yourself. Self-refinement means refine yourself by abandoning yourself. Without abandoning yourself and insisting on being yourself, You will never understand the truth of becoming a celestial, Buddha, or God, and you will never be able to climb the peak of life and life. The model of being yourself is too small, and its realm is too low. There is no being yourself in the teachings of gods, Buddhas, and celestials. Instead, they teach us not to have an ego, but to be selfless. With an ego, there are thorns and spears everywhere. There are always contradictions and conflicts. One is unable to live in harmony with people, unable to live in harmony with nature. Without an ego, there are green hills and blue waters everywhere. There are light breezes and a clear moon always. One can get along well with people, unite with nature, and unite with Tao. When contradictions and conflicts occur, that's because you want to be yourself. If you do not want to be yourself, but melt yourself into the other party, where are the conflicts and contradictions from? Why do couples divorce? Because they both want to be themselves. China and the United States are in conflict because they both want to be themselves. In a collective, if everyone gives up on being himself, the collective will be harmonious and auspicious. If everyone wants to be himself, the collective will be a mess of quarrels and fights. Readers may want to ask, what if I give up on myself, but the other party is uncivilized and barbaric? Should I bear insults, be lowly, and be bullied and oppressed by him? Here we need to trace history, to track down the reasons, and ask ourselves why I met him or her. The debt is to be paid, and we must believe in karma. At the same time, we must firmly believe in the fairness of Tao. Since Tao is fair, then leave everything to Tao to arrange and deal with. What we need to do is to be non-attached and abandon ourselves. The world is faultless. All faults lie within ourselves. The absolutely beautiful things are only for the enjoyment of absolutely beautiful lives, and no soul in hell has been wronged. Do you think that you are in your current situation because you have been wronged? Hasn't everything been created by yourself? Reality is the projection of one's own consciousness. If there is something wrong, the problem lies in your own consciousness. Sometimes it is easy for us to blame the government and the leaders for all of our problems. In fact, the root cause is still our own. It will take a long speech to explore this truth, so I will just end it here. I'm conducting an experiment of copying the 1,000-year world of the kingdom of heaven in the human world. This experiment has been going on for 11 years. The Chanyuan celestials who have participated in the experiment can testify what are the results of being oneself and abandoning oneself. All those who have insisted on being themselves have left, and those who have abandoned themselves have stayed. If what Xiefeng has said is not right, then what the God, Buddha, and Celestial has said must be right. 成为你自己的提法是无稽之谈. The idea of be yourself is nonsense. Xiefeng, March 23, 2021. Translated by Qinyu, edited by Peter. There are a lot of expressions of be yourself on the internet and in WeChat groups, which means not to compare yourself with others, not to listen to others' opinions about yourself, and not to imitate others, but to live as who you are and live your life yourself. The thought is good, and the purpose is right, but it's an unattainable aspiration. First, you is difficult to determine. This is an ambiguous concept that can neither be quantified nor clearly defined. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where will I go? Without solving these three problems, how can I find myself? From the perspective of reincarnation, some people may be reincarnated from pigs. Being yourself and be yourself means continuing to live as a pig. Some people may be reincarnated from rats, and being yourself means to be a rat. So, where are you from? Being yourself means go back to where you came from. People are the products of society, and social changes will lead to changes in people. For example, with communication, people used to send letters delivered by people or delivered on horseback. Later, it was conducted by the post office and then by telephone. Today, communication depends on the internet, WeChat, and video channels. I wonder what kind of communication does become yourself use? Can you not change with the changes in society? How can you be yourself? People are malleable and flexible. No one knows what kind of person he will become in his lifetime. Ask the prisoners in a prison if they had planned to be prisoners before they were imprisoned. Ask Hitler if he had made the choice to become the culprit of World War II. Are they trying to be themselves? Or haven't they become themselves? Being yourself has a terrible consequence, that is, to isolate oneself from society, to live in the state of beauty that you have imagined, entertaining yourself without knowing that danger is approaching you, to feel that you have become a Buddha or a celestial, indulging in self-intoxication and self-delusion, but the actual situation is that you have been abandoned by society. The reality is, I cannot become myself. I must abide by the laws that control society. I must abide by the current social operating rules. I can't lose my temper and kill people if I wish to. I must compromise when I should, retreat when it's time to retreat. I cannot just go my own way. I cannot help but consider the feelings of people around me. If people around me hate me, and I still stubbornly choose to be myself, then am I a granite-headed walking dead? Other things that cannot be quantified and clearly defined are conscience, mind, self-nature, love, and so on. These are deceptive concepts, such as conscience. Who can quantify and define conscience? Who knows whether someone's conscience is red or black? The best way is not to talk about good or bad conscience, but deal with each other in accordance with the contractual relationship. For example, with self-nature. What is self-nature? In the so-called perfect self-nature, all things are the manifestation of our nature. These all cannot be quantified and clearly defined. How do we perfect our nature? Can our nature produce 10,000 kinds of dharma or not? If yes, please show it to everyone. Another example is love. Originally, love is just a state of life. Once love is spoken from the mouth, it is no longer love. When you say, I love you, how do you love? Is it that you will give me $10 million, or a bouquet of roses? Or will you wash my feet? Or cook me a potato to eat? Words that sound beautiful may just be deceptive tricks. In Western society, there is no Buddhism, no Wang Yangming, no Rinpoche, no Karmapa, but there are many Nobel Prize winners. It is easy to be a master in the East, but it is not easy to be a Nobel Prize winner, because the former can play with concepts. Whoever plays with the concept well enough can be a master, but the latter must be rigorous, meticulous, and must work hard. Being yourself can go to hell. Abandoning yourself is the correct path. We welcome the birth of craftsmen, scientists, sages, and people who are unselfish and selfless to work for the happiness of the working people. 冲突发生在野蛮与野蛮、野蛮与文明之间。Conflicts occur between barbarism and between barbarism and civilization. Xiefeng, March 23, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu, edited by Peter. Conflicts will occur between barbarism and between barbarism and civilization, but no conflicts will occur between civilization and civilization. If we see two people, two tribes, two ethnic groups, or two countries fighting, there is no doubt that either both are barbaric, or one is barbaric and the other is civilized, but there will never be a conflict between two civilizations. If the fight between the two parties is extremely brutal, it must be a conflict between two groups of barbarians. If the fighting between the two parties is not so cruel and sometimes a compromise is made, and occasionally there is a truce, but overall, the fighting always continues, it must be a conflict between barbarism and civilization. Where there is conflict, there must be barbarism. The so-called barbarian is not keeping promises, not following rules, not fulfilling a contract, always wanting to take advantage of the other party, always wanting to control the other party, and always wanting to take the other party's possessions as his own. If there was a conflict between two people, and each believed that he was right, but in terms of the nature of the conflict, either the two people were both barbarians, or one of them must be a barbarian, it is impossible for both of them to be civilized. From this, we can draw the conclusion that those who often clash with other people must be barbarians, and are definitely not civilized people. Generally speaking, it is the barbarian who acts unjustly and forcefully in a conflict. The more one is good at compromising and self-reflecting, the more civilized they must be. There is a special phenomenon that when two or more barbarians encounter civilization, in order to deal with civilization together, the barbarians will temporarily unite and confront the civilization as allies. At this time, there will be peace between the two barbarians. They will not be in conflict with each other. But when their common enemy disappears, the temporary peace between the two barbarians will be broken, and mutual conflict will definitely occur between them again. This fact is determined by the nature of barbarism. 人与人之间冷酷一点好不好? Would it be good if people could treat each other a way that is more uncaring? Xiefeng, March 22, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu, edited by Peter. Undoubtedly, people like to be warm, concerning, caring, soothing, comforting, supporting each other, and jointly resisting their misfortunes and tribulations on the journey of life. After experiencing the ups and downs of life, I found that people spend too much time and energy in taking care of emotions between people in their lives. Therefore, I will offer an unconventional way of thinking. What if people would treat each other in a way that is a little less caring? In the animal world, in order to survive, all birds are uncaring. Once they hatch and feed their children to the stage where they are foraging on their own, the adult bird decisively implements an uncaring policy on the children. They pull out and expel the children from the nest and let them look for food and survive in nature. It is almost the same for mammals. As soon as they can find food for themselves, parents generally do not care very much for their offspring. Humans are different from animals. People care for each other. Even when parents are very old, they still want to find ways to care for and look after their children. It was reported that there is a mother whose son obtained a doctorate degree in the United States. After the son's returning to China, he did not look for a job. Instead, he stayed at home and played games all day even when he reached his 40s. All his living expenses depended on his mother, who was in her 70s and suffered from poor health. Most parents have this experience. In their children's childhood, when their children are upset, rolling around and crying on the ground, the parents will try to persuade their children to be happy. Especially the grandparents, who may love their grandchildren more, will try by every means to make them happy. In fact, husbands and wives will consider each other's emotions even more. When one is unhappy, the other has to try to persuade the other to be happy. From the beginning of a romantic relationship through marriage and into old age, couples spend an enormous amount of time and energy caring for each other emotionally. To maintain a good functioning of the relationship between people, one must take care of the other's emotions. Even if they make trouble unreasonably, the other one must also take care of their emotions. The problem is that people are imperfect and there will always be emotional outbursts. The price people pay for taking care of emotions is huge. Is it okay to be less caring with people? For example, when a child rolls on the ground and cries, not only do you not persuade him to behave himself and instead, you give him 2 slaps on his bottom, what will happen? I do not think he will roll around and cry anymore. For example, after having raised your child to 18 years of age, you then let him find his own means of livelihood. Even if he goes to college, let him find a way to pay the tuition fee on his own. In this way, the child will become a person with a strong ability to survive independently in the future. As for buying a house and getting married, it all should depend on the child's own ability to pay for it, and parents should no longer have to worry about how to pay for them. For example, what if between husband and wife, once the wife cries, makes trouble and threatens to hang herself, the husband scolds, beats, and threatens to kill her? Good grief! Do not give in and do not consider her emotions. In this way, the relationship may become more harmonious, beautiful, and healthier. Let the strong live beautifully, and let the weak linger out a feeble existence. This is in line with the laws of nature. Here is one point. People who are unable to work, such as the elderly and disabled, need to be taken care of by the strong. As long as they have the ability to work, they on no account should be taken care of. If you have the ability to work, why should others take care of you? I am not interested in charity and relief services. Human beings should encourage the strong to do something more substantial. People should follow the strong. In international relations, unite with the strong countries. As for weak and poor countries, best to let them die. In Xiefeng-style communism, I emphasize dictatorship and Superman philosophy and deny democratic mechanisms. Whoever is strong can take charge. Whoever contributes the most can be the leader. Whoever has the greatest ability can be the leader. Whoever can be selfless can be the leader. Isn't this fair and just? In Xiefeng-style communism, all people must participate in labor, and whoever does not work, throw them out. Whoever is lazy, throw them out. Whoever is always in a bad mood and disgruntled, throw them out. Whoever bullies people, throw them out. Everyone must be of value, must create value, and if they have no value, throw them out. In Xiefeng-style communism, The most annoying people are those who talk a lot and do nothing, and those who give advice. And the most favored people are those who say, I will take care of it. Do not offer help if someone does not ask for it. This is one of the values of Life Genuine. Isn't it uncaring? Is this correct? I do not know. Only practice and time can prove it and give the answer. 好无止境坏无底线. There are no limits to goodness and badness. Xiefeng, March 18, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu. Edited by Peter. What is the highest state of goodness? Answer. There is no highest state for goodness. It has no limit. What is the lowest state of badness? Answer. Badness has no lowest state. It has no limit. Due to the needs of entertaining guests, I have grapes available for 365 days a year. American, Canadian, and Brazilian grapes are all available. Red, purple, black, and green grapes are all available. Large, small, round, and long grapes are all available. I have tried all kinds of sour, sweet, and sweet, and astringent grapes and have gotten the impression that these are all of the grapes that exist in the world. However, on March 10, 2021, I got to eat a different kind of grape, which is Mexican, green, big, seedless, with thin skin, sweet, and very moist. I never thought that there were such high-quality grapes in the world. Do not mention streams to him who has seen a great ocean. The clouds that circle Wu's peak are the only clouds for him. After eating this kind of Mexican grape, I am afraid that no other grapes in the world will be as appealing to my mouth anymore. But wait a moment. Goodness has no limit. There may be grapes that are better than these Mexican grapes on the earth, and if not on the earth, they must be in the 1,000-year world and the 10,000 world. With the changes of time, space, and climate, grapes better than Mexican grapes may be discovered one day. In 1988, I was a teacher in a middle school. Once, the principal held a dinner and asked each teacher to bring 2 dishes so that we could taste the cooking of each teacher. When I tasted a teacher Kai's dishes, which were extremely unpalatable, considering teacher Kai's face and dignity, I held my breath and swallowed them. 30 years have passed. This scene and the unpalatable dishes at that time are still vivid in my eyes. How could people make such unpalatable dishes? Is there any food in the world that tastes worse than teacher Kai's dishes? It's definite, because badness has no bottom line. I know from the Mexican grapes that there are better spaces in the universe, and they must be more beautiful than the most beautiful place on Earth. There must be species that are absolutely beautiful in life. Where are they? These absolutely beautiful things must be waiting to be enjoyed by absolutely beautiful lives. When our own quality becomes more and more beautiful, we will certainly encounter an absolutely beautiful time and space and an absolutely beautiful life. Goodness has no limit, and there must be absolute beauty above perfection. I have no doubt about this. From this, we can infer how precious life is. Imagining an absolutely beautiful time and space makes one so excited. As long as we continuously improve and perfect the quality of our own lives, all the good things will appear on the journey of our life. From teacher Kai's dishes, we know that there is a kind of badness in this world that is unimaginable, such as poisonous steamed buns, poisonous fruits, poisonous vegetables. Badness has no limit. There are many things worse than toxic food, like cutting off a man's limbs and drowning him in a wine jar with only his head exposed and slowly torturing him to death. There is no limit for bad things. Knowing that badness has no limit, we should be cautious on the journey of our lives, cherish our time, and run towards the light every day. Otherwise, once we fall into the mud of badness, the sea of bitterness is boundless. Goodness has no limit. Let's constantly trek and climb toward the new oasis for life, the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. 看看你是否正走在前往天国的路上. Check and see if you are on the way to heaven. Xiefeng, February 1st, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu, edited by Peter. I clearly remember an evening in the summer of 1963. At that time, there were no newspapers, no radios, and of course no TVs and mobile phones. People's knowledge was passed on through chatting. At that time, every evening after dinner, the adults gathered together to brag and chat. The children either sat or stood quietly listening to the adults bragging, or just ran around and played. The reason why I can clearly remember that evening is because an uncle said, "When it is noontime where we are, it is midnight in some places. When it is summer where we are, it is winter in some places." I remember that everyone burst into laughter and said that uncle is whimsical and what he is saying is nonsense. In the thinking of people in the countryside at that time, as long as where I am is daytime, everywhere is daytime, and as long as what I feel is summer, it is summer everywhere else on earth. Then, when I say that there is a heaven in the universe, and that heavens are different everywhere, would you say that I am whimsical and talking nonsense? Do you think that heaven is the same as on earth? If I say that there is no sun and no night in the thousand-year world of heaven, and the sun in the 10,000-year world of heaven is always fixed in the same place, and everything in the Elysium Celestial Islands continent is created by transformation, do you think I am out of my mind? People's understanding of the great world is based on their own limited cognition, and to understand the infinite world with limited cognition is like a blind man trying to figure out what an elephant is by just touching one part of it. The first time I went abroad was to Zimbabwe, Africa, where I felt the beauty of heaven for the first time. On the third day in Zimbabwe, I secretly made up my mind that I would never leave Zimbabwe again. I stayed there for 17 years. What I want to say is that there is an infinitely beautiful place in this universe that no one can imagine, and that is heaven. Now, please check if you are on your way to heaven. There are 3 steps to see if you have crossed the path to heaven. The first step, you often yearn for distance. You feel that there are respectable, amiable, and lovable people in the distance, and there are endless beautiful sceneries in the distance. You love life, but you feel that you are a little out of place with the environment that you are in. You are busy every day for your survival, but deep in your heart, you do not like, even hate this kind of rushing. Inside, you do not like to work for money, power, status, and reputation. You just want to be happy, joyous, free, and blessed in life. You hate to see people controlling other people, hate being swayed and controlled by people and your environment. You hope that one day there will be a great person in your life who will take you far away, to a place you have missed very much. When you have these thoughts and feelings, you are actually on the way to heaven. The second step, you do not want to get married. You instinctively hate family life. You want to escape from marriage and family life. From the people you know before your eyes, you do not want to fight for the few people in front of you. You are crying inside. You feel very tired. You are eagerly looking for another way and channel out for yourself through the internet and WeChat and other media. You do not want to foster secular ties with anyone anymore. You like light association with people instead of deep ones. But in your heart, you are willing to meet a beloved one to whom you can deliver your whole body and soul. You are struggling between ideals and reality, hoping to end your current life trajectory and to immediately step into another unfamiliar field that is completely different from that of your past, the field that you have been waiting for a long time. When you think, feel, and work toward your ideal direction and goal, you are already on the way to heaven. The third step, you have completely stepped out the maze of affection. You are working hard to end your secular ties. You are actively and optimistically accumulating mental and spiritual wealth. You are pulling out the jealousy, comparison, complaining, anger, and other weeds and toxic weeds from your soul garden. You start to feel only the messages that make you happy. You are gradually moving away from the concepts and shackles of country, nation, political party, religion, and family and are looking for people who resonate with your own wishes. Happiness, joy, freedom, and blessedness have become the norm in your daily life. You will never hurt anyone, any life, and the natural environment. You are especially eager to integrate into the idyllic life of nature as soon as possible, to live a life of working and resting as the sun rises and sets, where no one pockets anything found on the ground, and doors are not bolted at night. All these phenomena show that you are on your way to heaven. Whether or not you can go to heaven has nothing to do with your diploma, wisdom, status, wealth, appearance, reputation, whether you have read the scriptures or chanted sutras, whether you have formally acknowledged someone as your master and met many masters and capable persons, and has nothing to do with whether you are talkative and eloquent, has nothing to do with how many good deeds you have done in the past. It is only related to your nature of Tathagata and is closely related to your state of mind. May the wise men who are walking on the road to heaven not hesitate and not stop in their steps. As long as they are sincere and continue to trek and climb, they will be able to achieve their dreams and realize their ideals to reach heaven. 事实是最好的审判官. Facts are the best judges. Xiefeng, January 27th, 2021. Translated by Qin and edited by Peter. No matter how charming, how beautiful, or how extravagantly colorful your words may be, they are worthless. Let them be confirmed by facts. Any theory or preaching that is not supported by facts is not credible. Any conclusive discourse that cannot be verified by facts is the resorting to sophistry and is irrational. Theories that have been proven to be unworkable, including those in the so-called classics, have all been fabricated. All theories and discourses that have not been verified by facts are falsehoods and should be dismissed. If in the face of facts, you still resort to sophistry, try to cover them up in every possible way, try to find all kinds of excuses, and argue with others about them, it can surely be said that you are unreasonable. We cannot prove the rationality and correctness of one theory using another theory, just as a lie cannot prove itself not a lie by still another lie. The only way to prove its rationality and correctness is to show the facts. If the facts cannot prove that you are right, then all your theories and preaching are false. If you say that you can grow a 200-kilogram Chinese cabbage, well, do it and show us your 200-kilogram Chinese cabbage. If you say that you are a Buddhist master, okay, first, educate a Buddha and let us see the result. If you say that you are a master of traditional Chinese culture and are proficient in traditional culture, okay, please let us see the facts about your respect for your parents, harmony between you and your wife, harmony in your neighborhood, and the filial piety in your children. It's easy to speak big and beautiful words, but they only count when you can put them into practice. Otherwise, they are only catchphrases and are all a form of self-deception. To verify whether a person has real talents, real connotation, and whether he lives up to his words, we should not listen to what he says, but we should see what he is doing and what he has done. Facts are the best judges. To verify whether a set of theories and a doctrine are reasonable, legal, and will conform to human nature, we can only let the facts speak for themselves, because facts are the best judges. If there are no facts, they are just nonsense. Respecting facts is the basic morality of a human being. 观世间百态明天国之路. Observe the human natures of the world and understand the way to heaven. Xiefeng, November 14th, 2020. Translated by Qin and edited by Peter. I have traveled 20 years on the path of life Qianyuan, the way of the greatest creator. Looking back, I feel more and more that I have chosen the right path. This path is the way to heaven. Other than that, I haven't seen any other way that is simpler, easier, clearer, and more direct. The most direct evidence is that more than 70 Qianyuan celestials have become celestial beings. Among them, there are 3 families. 8 out of 10 members of one family have become celestial beings, a family of 5 have all become celestial beings, and a family of 3 have all become celestial beings. Old people can enjoy their twilight years, the children can grow up healthily and are all outstanding, and I have to admire the magic and ingenuity of this path. With 20 changings of the seasons, I have thoroughly and clearly seen through the world, the shortcomings of Western and Eastern civilizations, the state of life and the confusion of everyone, and the root cause of the suffering of human beings and its effect on everyone. Looking at this magnificent picture of history in the world, I thus understand the limitations and helplessness of Jesus, Shakyamuni, Lao Tzu, Muhammad, and the saints and sages of the past. I also understand the confusion and defects of capitalism and socialism. The most valuable thing is that I understand that the presidents of various countries are not celestial beings, but mortals, and that the philosophers, scientists, professors, experts, artists, celebrities, rich men, and masters that appeared in the world are also in confusion. They are also living their lives in a muddle-headed way. The most interesting thing is to look at the lives of the toiling people, which are pathetic, sad, pitiful, and regrettable. The more stubborn that people are, the more they do not understand the truth and reason. The more stubborn that people are, the more miserable they are. There is another interesting phenomenon. The more people like reasoning with others, the more they do not understand the truth. Fall into a pit of one's own digging, seems to be very suitable for people who like reasoning. People who pursue the extraordinary and enjoy being ordinary are very pitiful. People who pursue the extraordinary seem to stand and shout in the wind, a bit like a madman does, while people who indulge in the ordinary are a bit like pigs reared in a pigsty. They just know no other way. Those who truly understand the truth of the world are those who have returned from the extraordinary to the ordinary, and they are the ones who enjoy life. The ordinary that has never been extraordinary is mediocre, and extraordinary that has not returned to the ordinary is impetuous. The plot of the world will never be played out according to any individual subjective will. Presidents cannot do it, sages cannot do it, and the general public cannot do it. That is how the Tao is running. All conditioned dharmas will be in vain like bubbles. Only those who know that it will rain tomorrow and go out with umbrellas are those who know the plot in their hearts. And those who know the plot and give guidance to others are the enlightened masters of the world. As a human, no matter what you say or do, you will attend to one thing and lose another. Life without an ultimate goal is a life of confusion. No matter how great and brilliant one feels, it is a life of clouds, a life of contradictions, and a life of misery, because when death comes, you will feel sad because of fear and helplessness. Without a frame of reference and a reference object as the benchmark of self-improvement and self-refinement, people will be at a loss. All people's words and deeds will be a form of blundering. When the sun comes out, they will be happy for a while, and when the sun goes down, they will be lost for a while, and they cannot achieve long-lasting tranquility, joy, and peace of mind. A truth needs to be revealed, that is, the more one is ordinary and lacks material wealth, the easier it is for him to become celestial. And the more knowledgeable, capable, and materially rich one is, the more difficult it will be for him to become celestial. This is probably also the reflection of the justness and fairness of the universe's balance mechanism. That is, if you have obtained the benefits of this shore, you will no longer have your welfare on the other shore. A tiger cannot grow wings on its back. With the blessings of the world, you can no longer look forward to the happiness of heaven. According to the practice of life genuine, what Christ Jesus says is true. Happy are you who are poor. Happy are you who are in need of food now. Happy are you who are weeping now. Those who have become celestials in life genuine were all once poor, hungry, and weeping people, while those who are wealthy, full of food, and laughing did not become celestials. It turns out that the greatest creator has been protecting his disadvantaged people. From the laws of the world, people are right no matter what they say and do, and there is no one who is wrong. From the perspective of the law of sublimation of life, people are wrong no matter what they say or do, and there are few people who are right. The chicken soup for the soul is delicious, but it is mostly made of the insight of people with elusive thinking. If you drink too much, you will be drunk and fall into the dust. 与我交往，不要诉说你的烦恼痛苦. When associating with me, do not tell me about your troubles and your pain. Xiefeng, November 18, 2020. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Peter. I follow the philosophy of the Superman. This world should be given to those who work hard without fear of hardships, but are always optimistic and romantic. People who talk about their misfortunes and worries all day long should withdraw from the historical stage of this world. Passive, negative, pessimistic people radiate negative energy, and it is too exhausting to associate with people who are full of negative energy. I do not owe you anything, so why should I bear your misfortune and pain? When surviving and living in this era of the world, which one of us is free from troubles and pains? It is just that the strong bury their worries and pains deeply in their hearts as nourishment and motivation to forge ahead. Only the weak talk about their worries and pains all day long and treat others as their emotional trash cans into which they dump the trash that is in their minds. With people who often tell others about their misfortunes and pains, their energy level is below 200, which is a kind of pathological psychology. Not only can they not live out their own lives, but they will also pollute the spirits and souls of others. As the messenger of the greatest creator, the incarnation of gods, Buddhas, and celestials, I, Xiefeng, came to the world to look for healthy people, not to look for sick people, not referring to physical diseases, but to spiritual diseases, let alone to cure people. I harvest ripe crops. Ripe crops are full and flawless. Do not think that I am here to help people in distress. Some people say Xiefeng is a Ziwei saint. That's only your wishful thinking. I won't do a stupid thing like that. I do not even have enough time to flirt with and seduce my sisters-in-law. So how can I have time to take care of your mess? Do not pretend to be pitiful in front of me so that I can feel pity for you. If you help yourself, I will help you. If you want to destroy yourself, I will help to destroy you. To whoever wants to hang himself, I will secretly prepare a rope for you to hang yourself with, and then you cannot live out a life of sunshine and color. If you want sunshine, I will give you light. If you want darkness, your wish will be fulfilled. In addition, I hope netizens do not give me advice, do not try to point out the right way to me, and do not insult my IQ. I follow the concept of do not offer help if someone does not ask for it. If I didn't ask you, do not help me. Of course, if you think your EQ, IQ, and SQ, spiritual quotient, are higher than mine, then teach me. But once you start teaching me, I'm going to ask you 100,000 questions, and if you cannot answer them, then shut up early in the conversation. Either follow me or go your own way. If you follow me, then do exactly what I say. Xiefeng will never collaborate with anyone, let alone ask anyone to teach me how to walk and how to handle my affairs. Oh people, live out your life of sunshine and colors. In this way, you will benefit endlessly and add a bright splendor to society. That is the correct way of living. 成就别人才能成就自己. You can only fulfill your mission in life by helping others. Xiefeng, December 4th, 2020. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. When flour is made into steamed buns, its mission has been accomplished. When the fruit of the tree is ripe, its mission has been accomplished. When people say farewell to the world with no regrets in the end, their missions in their lives have been accomplished. When a person is sublimated into an immortal or Buddha, his mission in life has been accomplished. When a person dies, no matter what his status has been, rich or poor, famous or wise, if he still has concerns, remorse, resentment, regret, nostalgia, and fear, it proves that his mission in life has not yet been accomplished. On the contrary, if his life is fulfilled, his mission has been accomplished. The process of helping others is actually the fulfilling of yourself. The more you help others, the greater your achievements will be. The more a person serves others, the greater his achievements will be. The reason why Jesus and Sakyamuni became God and Buddha is because of the great number of individuals that they served. Of all the services, the number of beneficiaries of formless almsgiving is the widest and most extensive, so those who give formless alms have achieved the most. Whether I, Xiefeng, can achieve my mission in life or not in the end depends entirely on what Chanyuan Celestials can achieve or what they can't. If Chanyuan Celestials achieve much, I will definitely have achieved much. The more Chanyuan Celestials achieve, the greater my achievements will be. If Chanyuan Celestials cannot achieve anything, then Xiefeng is just a bunch of stinky shit, nothing more. So, what I will achieve in life will be by helping Chanyuan Celestials in fulfilling themselves. The recent phenomenon of Great Freedom, Transformation of Lotus, network name, has fully proved this point. To help others is to fulfill themselves. Great Freedom, Transformation of Lotus not only forwarded and disseminated a great amount of Life-Genuine content in many WeChat groups, but also wrote articles explaining the values of Life-Genuine and the essence of Xiefeng. By this, she is helping others. As a result, the reputation of Lotus Celestial herself is getting better and better. At least more than 100 Chanyuan Celestials are full of praise for her. Think about it, many people can only receive praise from a few others, while Lotus Celestial has been praised by more than 100 people in a short period of time, which is not a small achievement. If it is not for helping others, how can she receive praise from them? If you do not help others, who will help you? I have been in contact with many people. Take WeChat group netizens as an example. Most of them add me on WeChat just to promote themselves, to absorb the nourishment of others, but they never want to pay even a little. Not to mention forwarding Chanyuan articles, they are not even willing to pay me by clicking a like. It shows how stingy and selfish they are. So how can they make any achievements? Some netizens really have profound wisdom and understand a lot of truths, but they do not understand the truth that they cannot achieve anything themselves unless they help others. As time goes by, they will completely be submerged in the long river of history, and everything they did will have been pointless. From this, we know that the more selfish we are, the less we will accomplish ourselves, and the more selfless we are, the more we will accomplish ourselves. No matter how much and how profound is truth that we have understood, if you do not put it into your own actions, it will only be a fleeting cloud. No one will trust a man who talks a lot without any actions, or if his actions are inconsistent with what he says. In today's world, as far as the group is concerned, Chanyuan Celestials are persons who understand truth the most. Just think about it. After suffering so many devastating blows for over 10 years, Chanyuan Celestials are still full of confidence and are optimistic, romantic, and keep on building new homes, playing and laughing, moving on together happily. Why? This is only because Chanyuan Celestials are all selfless and unselfish people who want to help others and fulfill the cause of life. Chanyuan Celestials only want to give and dedicate, never care about personal gains and losses, and never think of themselves. What is the result? Of course, their lives have all been fulfilled. I said the above just to point out a bright way ahead for those who are predestined. If you want to fulfill yourself, then go all out to help others. Otherwise, everything you do, and you yourself, will come to nothing. 女子如何征服大丈夫? How a woman will conquer a real man. Xiefeng. January 1st, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. We know that a real man does not bully weak women. This is a real man's weakness. As long as you focus on this weakness and exert your strength, you will surely be able to conquer the real man. How do you exert your strength? Being cutesy, acting flirtatiously, showing weakness, showing softness, and being obedient. With these 5 actions, a real man will surely be under your control. When encountering a real man, women must never show rigidity, indulgence, toughness, willfulness, and viciousness. These characteristics cannot subdue a real man, because a real man is rigid inside, and if you use rigidity to control his rigidity, it will lead to conflict and both will get hurt. Only with softness can you overcome firmness. At the same time, in the face of a real man, women must not use words and expressions of grievance, blame, condemnation, and resentment. These characteristics will keep a real man 1,000 miles away, and a real man is free of all passive, negative, and pessimistic emotions. These words are something that a real man is unwilling to accept or bear. Treating a real man in the same way as treating an ordinary man would be extremely inappropriate. If you do not believe me, try it. 人生的又一个奥秘. Another mystery of life. Xiefeng. January 17th, 2021. Translated by Qinyu and edited by Peter. Someone was going to build a luxury villa somewhere, the drawings were ready, and the materials were ready. At that time, a geologist came and told him, I can tell you 100% for sure that in 4 years, there will be a big earthquake where you choose to build the villa and then all the buildings will be razed to the ground. Could you tell me, will the owner of the villa continue building it? Someone's child was admitted to a famous university in the United States, and the whole family celebrated. Then a fortune teller came and said, it's better for your child not to go to study in the United States, because in 4 years, on the day of his graduation, he will be involved in a car accident. I would like to ask, will this person still want to send his child to go to the university in the United States? Someone was going to invest 1 million yuan in a real estate business, when a stranger came and said, you'd better stop doing business in real estate. You will make 100 million in the first 10 years, but in the 11th year you will not only go bankrupt, but also be taken to prison and all your property will be confiscated. The question, is he still planning to get into the real estate business? When a person knows exactly that what he is doing will bring him misfortune in the near future, generally speaking, he will stop acting on it. The problem is that when a couple are about to conceive and give birth, they do not need to ask anyone. Everyone knows that the child they give birth to will surely die when he grows up. Even if they know that the child will surely die, people will still give birth to children. Throughout the history of human beings, the vast majority of people's lives will end in tragedy, and their lives will be spent in trouble, pain, anxiety, and sorrow. Even so, people will come to the world and have a try at it. They have all devoted themselves to the hard work and struggle in life with the fluke mentality of, I will live well. Generation after generation, they have been multiplying like this, which can be described as in the Changjiang River, the waves behind drive those ahead, and no tears will come when you do not see the coffin. Why are you so irrational? The reason is that people do not know what will happen tomorrow, so they live with hope and anticipation. They can't help themselves but are pushed by their survival instinct and by the tide. There is no other way but to do so. This is the mystery. People enter the world to experience life. The process of life is a process of experience. Apart from this, these people have nothing to gain. Knowing this mystery, we will find that the geologist, the fortune teller, and the stranger mentioned at the beginning of the article did a bad thing. They should not tell the truth to the builder, should not tell the parents what will happen to their kid who will go to school in the United States 4 years later, should not tell the one who is going to become a real estate businessman what will happen in 10 years, because the truth deprives them of the process of experiencing life. Just imagine if you tell a newborn pig, when you grow up and you will be fattened, people will stab a knife into your heart to kill you and then they will eat you. Can this pig still have a happy and joyous life? It is cruel to tell the truth. It is more in line with human nature and natural law to let people live in a daze. Even if the truth is told, few people are willing to believe it. Sometimes lies are more compassionate than the truth. Live happily. Every day should be a happy day, and life experience is very important. 背西洋面朝阳. Will you go backwards to the sunset or face the rising sun? Xiefeng. November 27, 2022. Translated by Qin Yu and edited by Peter. Toward evening, feeling indisposed and listless, I drove my chariot to an ancient elevation. The setting sun looks glorious indeed, only it is so close to dusk. Since it is near dusk, the sun will set, and darkness will consume the earth. The red sun rises in the east with majestic momentum, and the first rays of the sun color the gown of the green mountain. Thousands of miles of mountains and rivers receive their charm from the sun, while the rain and dew lead the literary excellence for the ages. When facing the rising sun, always start the new day full of energy, throw yourself into the embrace of the rising sun, and your future will be assured. Sunset industries will soon be eliminated. For example, with mobile phone cameras, who will make Kodak cameras and point-and-shoot cameras anymore? Who wants to make ox carts and carriages when there are cars? Who wants to buy a flashlight when you can have a mobile phone? Who wants to buy a city traffic map when you have mobile phone navigation? With the popularity of cars with an automatic transmission, who will make cars with a manual transmission? Who will hire workers on the assembly line since robots are now available? With more powerful social software, who will go to QQ? With 800G mobile phones, who will make 20G mobile phones? Yesterday, a lot of industries disappeared. Today, many enterprises have closed. Tomorrow, many people will lose their jobs. The sunset industry is on the verge of bankruptcy and close and entering the history museum. Do you feel sorry? There is no time for regrets or remorse or no chance to repent or hate. It is worthless and meaningless. When the Qing dynasty replaced the Ming dynasty, those patriots who opposed the Qing dynasty and tried to restore the Ming dynasty became synonymous with reactionary, and their ending was bound to be tragic. With the iPhone 13 Apple mobile phone, other mobile phones will gradually be eliminated by the mobile phone market. And with the Musk Starlink mobile phone, the iPhone 13 will also enter decline. It is an inevitability of the development of human society and an inevitability of history that old generations will be replaced by new ones, and the waves behind will push forward the waves ahead of them. When we stand on the top of the mountain in the Life-Genuine era and look down at all the activities in the world, we will find that many people's pursuits are blind, and they are desperately chasing the sunset, such as the men and women racking their brains and making real effort to get married and start a family. They are running into the darkness and are both pathetic and pitiful, while the Chanyuan celestials who have already climbed to the peak will enjoy the beautiful scenery of the mountains and rivers, but they are still worrying and anxious about whether to plant radish or corn on their small piece of land at the foot of the mountain. With the second home model, who wants to save money to buy a house for themselves? Who wants to sharpen their brains and become a civil servant? Who wants to start a business for their own family? Who will engage in making social connections? With the 800 values for new era human beings, who would study law to become a lawyer or judge? Who still racks their brains to become an official? Who wants to be a soldier and die for his country? Who wants to join a political party or a church? In today's world, only Life Genuine is a sunrise industry, which is breaking through the horizon and preparing to rise to illuminate the mountains and rivers, while all other activities are sunset industries. In the near future, entering the second home will be the equivalent to owning one of Musk's Starlink mobile phones, with all its powerful functions, and the rest will be like flashlights, cameras, calculators, televisions, newspapers, magazines, ox carts, and carriages, all of which will disappear on the horizon of the setting sun. Those who engage in sunset industries are wasting their time and energy and are working diligently in vain. Those who enter Life Genuine are creating a sunrise industry. Although in the beginning it will be difficult, they will definitely develop with vigor and their futures will be bright. 理想人生全景文解 The panoramic interpretation of an ideal life. Xiefeng, April 2nd, 2022. Translated by Qin Yu, edited by Peter. From birth to death, what is the best way to live one's life? Birth, 3 years old. Being accompanied by the mother, since having a mother's company is the safest, warmest, and most comfortable life during infancy. 4 to 6 years old, being accompanied by friends of the same age to live a collective life, supplemented by the guidance of a caring aunt. The whole process is mainly about games and entertainment. 7 to 12 years old, eating together, living together, and going to school together with friends of the same age, learning the knowledge of life, the relationship between man and nature, and properly participating in the labor of all aspects of life, cultivating the ability to live independently, being taught by teachers. There should be more female teachers than male teachers. 13 to 18 years old, should keep on living a collective life, mainly learning science skills, along with music, dance, art, and gymnastics, etc., supplemented by the physiology of puberty and the knowledge of health. Allow them to fall in love freely. Those who are tall and mature early are encouraged to try to have sex. Let them be full of longing for life, full of reverence for life, and full of enthusiasm for life. During this period, they should be guided at least by sage-level adults, preferably celestial guides, and there should be more male than female. It is strictly forbidden for an ignorant person, the laity, and mortals to enter the sphere of adolescent children's lives. 19 to 22 years old, living in a semi-collective life, eating together, but no longer living together. They should carry out high-intensity training in groups according to their different hobbies and specialties, reading extensively, practicing a lot, letting their intelligence explode, and letting them solve all the problems that arise in their lives. Let them understand and master all the historical knowledge and the scientific frontier of knowledge accumulated by human beings. Encourage adventure, uniqueness, completely let go of their sex lives. Let them fully experience the beauty of sex. 23 to 28 years old, this is a period of burning passion, a period full of vitality and creativity. Education and guidance should be stopped to allow everyone to create and live according to their love, giving them maximum freedom to do what they want. Don't interfere with them, don't preach morals, just let their nature fully bloom. During this period, each person should have at least 1 or 2 children. 29 to 46 years old are ripe peaches, the most vigorous time, the most creative season. They should maximize the creation of material wealth and spiritual wealth in their respective positions and fields and create the living environment they want the most. 47 to 60 years old, having accumulated a wealth of life experience, tasted the ups and downs of life. This is the stage of transcendence and the sublimation of life, to fully create spiritual wealth and soul wealth, to become a teacher for children and a role model for young people, to create the most ideal humanistic environment. 61 to 70 years old, mature and fruitful years. They should live like saints, with a benevolent and kind countenance, being calm and steady, like Mount Tai. Be loved by children, consulted by young people, respected by middle-aged people. They are the ballast stone in collective life, the lights in the night. 70 to 120 years old, living a leisurely life, enjoying their carefree and happy old age. The 8 crises of life. There is no maternal love in infancy, a childhood without playmates and a lack of play. There is no education in the knowledge of life in a juvenile. There is no school and sweet love in adolescence. having no faith and only rushing about and working for food, clothing, housing, and transportation at a young age. In middle age, being tortured by family conflicts and suppressed by the anxiety of survival. In elderly age, being afflicted with illness and having no one around to take care of them. In old age, living a lonely life and being unaccompanied till death. The above 8 major crises in life are perfectly eliminated and resolved in the second home of Life Echanuan. Therefore, the production and living mode of the second home is the most ideal way of life for human beings. 包容 equals 纵容. Tolerance equals complicity. Xiefeng. January 21, 2021. Translated by Qin Yu. Edited by Peter. There is a kind of tolerance that is tantamount to complicity. I am here to talk specifically about this kind of tolerance. I left 3 WeChat groups yesterday. The reason for my leaving was the uncivilized language in those 3 groups. In 2 of these groups, a person named Lunatic Wong is always saying "fuck your mother" and using other vulgar and crude words. Barbarians like him and many people not only praise him for his knowledge and wisdom, but also tolerate him as well. Feeling helpless and unable to bear the foul atmosphere in the group, I left. The reason why Lunatic Wong used swear words unscrupulously was because he found that people would tolerate his barbaric behavior. So, he feigned madness and acted like an idiot, acted irrationally, and cursed heaven and anyone he could. The language he used is so nasty, vulgar, filthy, and dirty that no one in the past and no one in the future will be able to surpass him. Other people tolerate this despicable and shameless person and are even singing praises for him. This is the pure acceptance of evil. As a spiritual practitioner, I cannot connive with evil to such a degree or even associate with him, speak with him on the same stage, which shows how far the world of spiritual cultivation has fallen. When evil occupies the platform of discourse and morals degenerate to their extremities, no one should blame others. We should blame ourselves for being too tolerant of falsehoods, evil, and ugliness. This tolerance is complicity, and it is when we are compliant of ugly deeds and ugly words by each of us that it leads to the indecencies that are swaggering through the streets and running rampant. Tolerance refers to the non-interference of personality differences under the same attribute. For example, various flowers have the same attribute. Under the same attribute, peonies need to tolerate thorny roses, chrysanthemums need to tolerate winter plums that bloom in cold weather, and bougainvillea that blooms all year round need to tolerate epiphyllum, whose flowering period is only a few hours. Another example is that truth, kindness, beauty, love, faith, sincerity, peace, and harmony should mutually tolerate each other, because they are all the same attributes. When things are completely different in nature, they cannot tolerate each other. Here tolerance equals complicity. Truth, goodness, and beauty cannot tolerate falsehoods, evil, and ugliness. The sun cannot tolerate darkness, fire cannot tolerate water, and a beautiful environment cannot tolerate garbage. Imagine that there are 8 dishes on the dinner table, and someone brings a plate of feces. May I ask, will you tolerate it? The Chinese nation regards bearing shame and humiliation as a positive virtue. This kind of value is problematic. The cultivated world praises tolerance highly, to show that they have broad minds and noble feelings. How hypocritical this is. Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism all emphasize tolerance. So Chinese people are particularly tolerant, but it is precisely because everyone can tolerate that the Chinese characteristic of tolerance has been formed. This tolerance for humiliation makes people feel angry, but they do not speak and dare not stop and resist in their behavior, and all take the gentleman style of, if you are patient in one moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow. In the long run, people will live awkwardly, but they have nowhere to vent. In the end, they can only swallow their anger and comfort themselves with having a tolerant mentality. In China, the phenomenon of queue jumping occurs often because the Chinese are good at tolerance. I lived in Zimbabwe for more than 10 years. The commercial, industrial, and living areas of this country are completely separated. Office workers who work in the city during the day need to take the shuttle bus to go home after work. Every day, there are many people waiting in line for the bus, but queue jumping rarely occurs there. Why? Because people are not tolerant of line jumpers, so it is impossible to cut into a line. Once, I was queuing up at a place to pay electricity and water bills. Suddenly, a black guy walked to the window without queuing up. Several old white ladies in the back immediately protested. They not only yelled, but an old lady also even stepped forward and dragged the black guy to the back of the line. They just would not tolerate the behavior of queue jumping. Just because everyone was not tolerant, so an overall good sense of order was achieved. A Canadian mayor slapped his subordinate, and this subordinate called the police. The police rushed to the spot and took the mayor to the police station in handcuffs. That night, the mayor was detained in a cell with no windows, no bed, no bedding, and no urinal. When he wanted to go to the toilet, he would knock on the door and make a report. At 9 o'clock the next morning, the police handcuffed him again, added anklets, stuffed him into an armored prison car, and he went straight to the local court. The judge sentenced him to go to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation to see if he had any mental problems that had caused the violence and sentenced him not associate with this subordinate whom he had beaten at any time. If he encounters this subordinate by chance, he must immediately and unconditionally maintain a distance of more than 200 meters from him. Any violation, it will be treated as the crime of contempt of court. After returning home, the mayor had to resign. 3 months later, the court's final decision was, 1. He is not allowed to carry knives or guns or ammunition with him for the rest of his life. 2. For the period of 1 year, he needs to report his situation to the Community Crime Prevention Agency every month, and he must ask the Community Crime Prevention Agency for leave and report back after a leave of absence when he leaves his residence to do business and then returns to his residence. It can be said that Chinese people will tolerate the mayor slapping a subordinate in the face, and even if a ruffian beats somebody up, Chinese people generally will tolerate it. It's mainly because of this tolerance that the offender can act boldly and arbitrarily. This is all caused by tolerance. This kind of irrational and no bottom-line connivance-style tolerance can be seen everywhere. In the family, when the children are unhappy, they lie on the ground and cry. Grandparents and parents not only fail to instruct them in time, but also coax them. Some students in the school will bully other students, and teachers and principals are also tolerant of this. More cases are between husbands and wives, who often have trouble with each other, but then they tolerate each other. Most of the WeChat groups on the internet are tolerant of those who speak rudely and humiliate others. Over time, the whole society becomes tolerant, so crimes are rampant. In the new oasis for life created by Life-Chanuan, why do people behave in a noble way, and why is everything in order? The reason is that we never tolerate bad words and deeds. Not only do we not tolerate fighting and swearing, but we also never tolerate the behaviors of boozing, whoring, gambling, and smoking, and we even never tolerate the behavior of the wasting of food and property. No one can leave any food in the rice bowl after eating. Not just leaving food behind, but even leaving a few grains of rice in the bowl is not allowed. Anyone who dares to throw trash down casually can try it. Anyone who dares to sexually harass women can try it. Anyone who dares to hide public goods privately can try it. Anyone who dares to peep into the privacy of others can try it. Anyone who dares to take indolence and covet enjoyment can try it. If one recommits this act after being warned, he will be expelled from the home. Someone taught me and said, "You need to be more tolerant and accept everything." I answered immediately, "I am not a trash can or a trash pit. How can I tolerate and accept everything?" Some people call those creatures that talk filthily and often say, "Fuck your mother," as superior and master. Their values are reversed to such a degree. No wonder that these superiors and masters have sprung up like mushrooms in the land of China. 分工负责的价值和意义. The value and significance of division of labor. Xiefeng, January 30th, 2023. Edited by Qin Yu. First, let's look at these equations. Which equation do you think has the greatest power? 1 plus 1 equals 0, 1 plus 1 equals 11, plus 1 equals 21, plus 1 equals 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me explain. 1 plus 1 is equal to 0. When two people live together without division of labor, regardless of the size of tasks, they work together and are busy all day without time for leisure or study. Due to differences in personality and views, they criticize, nitpick, and attack each other. wasting their time and energy on pointless arguments. They end up achieving nothing, and their life accomplishments equal zero. 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. When two people live together and work on tasks without internal conflict, their results equal what one person could accomplish alone. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Two people living together, each doing their own thing, without interfering with each other, results in the achievement of two people. 1 plus 1 is equal to 3. Two people living together, dividing responsibilities, cooperating seamlessly, and working together on specific tasks, results in the achievement of 3 people. 1 plus 1 is equal to 9. Two people living together, with clear division of all tasks, sharing common goals, and no internal conflicts, results in the achievement of what would normally take 9 people to accomplish. The above is a theoretical analysis, but what is the actual situation like? Please carefully consider how your own living situation with others is like, especially the achievements of 2 people living together as a couple. What I want to tell everyone is that based on my analysis and practical experience, whether it is 2 people, 3 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, or even all the people on Earth living together, the greatest achievement comes from dividing tasks and responsibilities. If tasks are not clearly defined and everyone wants to meddle in everything, or if you are building airplanes, I am also building airplanes, and he is also building airplanes, it will not only waste resources and human effort, but also create competition. The result of competition can be lower costs, increased efficiency, and better quality, but it will also lead to enormous waste of resources and moral degradation, which is not worth it. By playing to each person's strengths, refining tasks, sharing common goals, and cooperating seamlessly without interference, this kind of team, whether it is a team of 2, 8, or 10,000 people, can achieve results that are multiples of what individuals can achieve. This approach does not waste resources nor create tensions between individuals, because there is no internal friction or competition. From a couple to various countries around the world, if we follow the theory of dividing tasks and responsibilities, humanity will enter a golden age where there will be no more wars, waste of Earth's resources will be eliminated, and social turmoil will be eradicated. Border controls between countries will no longer be necessary, and we will enter a harmonious era of global integration. Of course, to achieve the above ideal, it seems that only the Life-Genuine values and the second home model can bear such a heavy responsibility at present.